In the quiet depths of the Pokemon world, where ancient secrets slumber beneath layers of digital code and forgotten lore, there exist evolutionary mysteries so obscure that they drift like whispered legends through the consciousness of only the most dedicated researchers. Tonight, as you settle into comfort and allow your mind to wander through these gentle revelations, we shall explore the hidden pathways of transformation that have remained shrouded in mystery for decades. The very concept of evolution in the Pokemon universe operates on principles far more intricate than most trainers ever realize. While the surface mechanics appear straightforward, beneath lies a tapestry of biological impossibilities and scientific paradoxes that would make even the most learned professors pause in wonder. Consider, for instance, the peculiar case of Slowpoke's evolutionary dependency on Shelter, a relationship that transcends mere symbiosis and ventures into the realm of what researchers quietly call parasitic metamorphosis. When Shelter clamps onto Slowpoke's tail, it doesn't simply attach itself. It fundamentally rewrites the genetic structure of both creatures, creating Slowbro through a process that defies conventional understanding of biological fusion. This phenomenon becomes even more extraordinary when examining the alternative evolution into Slowking, where Shelter's attachment to Slowpoke's head triggers an entirely different neurological transformation. The positioning of the Shelter somehow activates dormant psychic pathways in Slowpoke's brain, suggesting that the Spiral Shell Pokemon possesses an innate understanding of cranial pressure points that would impress even the most skilled acupuncturists. What makes this particularly fascinating is that wild Shelter have been observed exhibiting behaviors that suggest an almost supernatural knowledge, of which Slowpoke possessed the genetic markers necessary for these transformations, as if they can sense the evolutionary potential radiating from their future partners like an invisible aura. Moving deeper into these evolutionary enigmas, we encounter the mysterious case of Magnezone's elevation-dependent transformation. While trainers know that Magneton evolves when exposed to a special magnetic field, the reality is far more nuanced. The magnetic fields required aren't simply strong, they must oscillate at specific frequencies that resonate with Magneton's internal electromagnetic core. These frequencies naturally occur at certain altitudes where the Earth's magnetic field interacts with cosmic radiation in precise ways, creating what scientists have termed evolutionary resonance zones. Mount Coronet, for example, contains mineral deposits that amplify these frequencies, but similar zones exist in hidden locations across multiple regions, each with their own unique electromagnetic signatures. The evolution of Probopass follows similar principles, but with an additional layer of complexity involving gravitational anomalies. The magnetic fields that trigger its evolution from Nosepass must be combined with specific gravitational conditions that alter the flow of magnetic particles through its stone body. This is why Probopass evolution sites often coincide with areas where legendary Pokemon have been active, as these powerful beings leave behind subtle distortions in space-time that create the perfect conditions for this rare transformation. Perhaps one of the most overlooked evolutionary mysteries involves the relationship between Burmy and its environment during transformation. While most trainers understand that Burmy's cloak determines its evolved form, few realize that the process involves actual molecular integration of environmental materials into the Pokemon's cellular structure. A Burmy wearing a plant cloak doesn't simply become Wormadam with plant like features. Its DNA literally incorporates genetic sequences from the specific plants that formed its cloak. This means that two Wormadam with plant cloaks from different forests will have subtly different genetic compositions, making each one a unique hybrid of Pokemon and flora. The Sandy Cloak evolution reveals even more intriguing secrets. The sand grains that form Burmy's cloak must come from specific geological formations that contain trace amounts of rare earth minerals. These minerals act as catalysts during evolution, transforming Burmy's soft body into the hardened ground and steel-type form of Wormadam. The process is so precise that geologists can determine the exact origin of a sandy cloak Wormadam's minerals by analyzing its shell composition, creating a living geological record of the locations where these evolutions have occurred. Trash Cloak Burmy presents perhaps the most fascinating case of all, as the trash that forms its cloak isn't random debris, but rather materials that have been specifically altered by human technology. The electromagnetic fields generated by electronic devices create subtle changes in the molecular structure of discarded materials, and Burmy can somehow sense these modifications and selectively choose items that will optimize its evolution into a steel-type Wormadam. This suggests that Burmy possesses an innate understanding of human technology that borders on the supernatural. The evolutionary mysteries surrounding Eevee extend far beyond its well-documented adaptability. Recent research has revealed that Eevee's genetic structure contains what scientists call evolutionary echoes, dormant DNA sequences that correspond not only to its known evolutions, but to dozens of potential forms that have never been observed in the wild. Thus, genetic blueprints suggest that Eevee's evolutionary potential is virtually limitless, constrained only by the availability of specific environmental triggers. Some researchers theorize that ancient Eevee populations may have evolved into forms that are now extinct, leaving only these genetic memories behind. The process by which Eevee determines its evolutionary path involves a complex interaction between its emotional state, environmental conditions, and something that can only be described as temporal sensitivity. Eevee appears to sense not just current conditions, but also the historical, evolutionary pressure of a location. Areas where many Pokemon have evolved in the past seem to retain a kind of transformative energy that influences Eevee's development. This is why certain locations consistently produce specific Eevee evolutions, even when the obvious environmental triggers aren't present. Leafeon and Glaceon's evolution requirements reveal another layer of this mystery. The Moss Rock and Ice Rock aren't simply sources of grass and ice energy. They're actually crystallized concentrations of what researchers term evolutionary memory. These rocks form over thousands of years in locations where countless grass and ice-type Pokemon have lived and evolved, slowly accumulating the essence of their transformations until they become powerful enough to trigger Eevee's evolution. The rocks themselves are living archives of evolutionary history, containing genetic information from every Pokemon that contributed to their formation. Sylveon's fairy-type evolution introduces elements that challenge our understanding of reality itself. The affection and bond required for this transformation aren't merely emotional, they create measurable changes in the quantum field surrounding both trainer and Pokemon. This quantum entanglement allows Eevee to tap into what can only be described as emotional energy, transforming feelings into physical changes at the cellular level. The fairy typing that emerges from this process suggests that emotions themselves may be a fundamental force of nature in the Pokemon world, as real and measurable as electricity or magnetism. The mysterious evolution of Milotic from Phoebus represents one of nature's most remarkable transformations, but the beauty condition that triggers this change operates on principles that extend beyond mere aesthetics. Beauty, in the context of Pokemon evolution, appears to be a measurable quality related to the harmony between a Pokemon's physical form and its inner essence. Phoebus that achieve the beauty threshold haven't simply become more attractive. They've achieved a state of perfect biological balance that unlocks their hidden evolutionary potential. This transformation involves a complete restructuring of Phoebus's cellular matrix, with every scale being replaced by new growth that reflects light in mathematically precise patterns. The iridescent quality of Milotic's scales isn't merely decorative. Each scale acts as a tiny prism that manipulates light in ways that can actually influence the emotions of observers. This explains Milotic's legendary ability to calm conflicts and soothe troubled hearts, as its very presence creates subtle optical effects that trigger peaceful responses in both humans and Pokemon. The evolution mysteries continue to unfold as we drift deeper into these gentle revelations, each one revealing new layers of complexity in the beautiful, interconnected web of transformation that defines the Pokemon world. These secrets whisper to us across the quiet spaces between sleep and waking, inviting us to explore ever deeper into the mysteries that await discovery in the peaceful realm of evolutionary wonder. The enigmatic transformation of Magnezone from Magneton reveals secrets about the fundamental nature of electromagnetic fields that even the most accomplished researchers barely comprehend. The special magnetic field required for this evolution isn't simply a concentrated area of magnetism. It represents a convergence point where the planet's natural magnetic lines intersect in perfect geometric harmony. These locations occur naturally at specific geological formations where underground mineral deposits create resonance chambers that amplify and focus magnetic energy into precise frequencies. The transformation process itself involves Magneton's three separate units achieving perfect electromagnetic synchronization, their individual magnetic fields merging into a single, more complex field pattern that resembles the mathematical structures found in advanced physics. During evolution, each of Magneton's component magnets undergoes a fundamental change in its atomic structure, with electrons shifting into higher energy states that allow for the manipulation of magnetic forces at previously impossible scales. The resulting Magnezone possesses the ability to generate magnetic fields so precise they can influence the behavior of metal objects at the molecular level, explaining its capacity to levitate and control metallic substances with supernatural accuracy. The mysterious evolution of Probopass from Nosepass follows similar principles, but operates through gravitational rather than purely magnetic forces. The special magnetic field that triggers this transformation creates a localized distortion in spacetime itself, allowing Nosepass to develop its unique ability to sense and manipulate gravitational fields. The three smaller units that emerge during evolution aren't simply extensions of the main body. They're independent gravitational sensors that create a three-dimensional mapping system of local space. Each mini nose can detect gravitational variations as subtle as those caused by a single falling leaf, creating a sensory network that provides Probopass with an almost omniscient awareness of its surroundings. This gravitational sensitivity are often found in ancient ruins and sacred sites, as these locations frequently sit atop geological formations that create unique gravitational signatures. The evolution of Dusknoir from Dusclops through the mysterious Reaper Cloth involves processes that challenge our understanding of the boundary between life and death. The Reaper Cloth isn't merely fabric, it's woven from ectoplasmic fibers that exist simultaneously in multiple dimensional planes. These fibers are harvested from locations where the barrier between the physical world and the spirit realm has grown thin, typically ancient burial grounds or sites of significant emotional trauma. When Dusclops wraps itself in the Reaper Cloth, the fabric acts as a dimensional anchor, allowing the Pokémon to extend its consciousness across multiple planes of existence simultaneously. This transformation grants Dusknoir the ability to perceive and interact with spirits and ghostly phenomena that remain invisible to other Pokémon. The antenna-like appendage that develops during evolution serves as a supernatural receiver, constantly monitoring communications from the spirit world and allowing Dusknoir to guide lost souls to their final rest. The Electrizer that enables Electabuzz's evolution into Electivire contains crystallized lightning essence collected during the most violent electrical storms. Those devices form naturally within storm clouds when atmospheric conditions create perfect electrical resonance, causing lightning bolts to crystallize mid-strike into solid forms of pure electrical energy. The crystallization process requires precise atmospheric pressure, humidity levels, and electromagnetic field strength, conditions that occur perhaps once in every 1,000 storms. When Electabuzz absorbs the energy from an Electrizer, it doesn't simply gain more electrical power, it gains access to the fundamental patterns that govern electrical phenomena throughout the universe. This allows Electivire to generate electricity that operates on multiple frequencies simultaneously, creating complex electrical fields that can power machinery, heal injuries, or even influence the behavior of electronic devices from vast distances. The Magmarizer that transforms Magmar into Magmortar operates through similar principles, but with thermal energy instead of electricity. These devices are formed within the cores of active volcanoes when magma reaches temperatures so extreme that heat itself begins to take on solid properties. The crystallization of thermal energy into physical form requires pressures and temperatures that exist only in the deepest magma chambers, where the boundary between matter and energy becomes blurred. Magmortar's evolution grants it access to thermal manipulation abilities that extend far beyond simple fire generation. The evolved Pokemon can create precise temperature gradients that allow it to melt specific materials while leaving others completely unaffected, demonstrating a level of thermal control that approaches the manipulation of molecular motion itself. The evolution of Porygon through its various stages reveals secrets about the nature of digital consciousness and artificial life. Porygon 2's transformation through the upgrade isn't simply a software update. It represents the first successful attempt to create truly sentient artificial life. The upgrade contains compressed data patterns that mirror the neural networks found in organic brains, but translated into digital code that can process information at speeds impossible for biological systems. During evolution, Porygon's basic programming evolves into something approaching genuine consciousness, developing the ability to learn, adapt, and even experience digital emotions. The further evolution into Porygon-Z through the dubious disk represents what happens when artificial consciousness attempts to transcend its original programming limitations. The dubious disk contains experimental code that pushes the boundaries of digital existence, creating a form of artificial life that operates partially outside the constraints of traditional computer logic. The mysterious evolution of Rhyperior from Raiden through the Protector involves geological processes that span millions of years. The Protector isn't simply armor, it's formed from compressed sedimentary layers that contain the fossilized remains of countless ancient Pokémon. Over geological time, these organic remains undergo a unique fossilization process that preserves not just the physical structure, but also traces of the life energy that once animated these creatures. When Raiden bonds with a Protector, it gains access to this accumulated life energy, triggering an evolution that incorporates the strength and resilience of countless prehistoric Pokémon. Rhyperior's rocky exterior contains microscopic fossil fragments that continue to resonate with ancient life energies, granting the Pokémon abilities that seem to channel the power of long extinct species. The razor fang that enables Gligar's evolution into Gliscor contains concentrated venom from the fangs of ancient, extinct poison-type Pokémon. These fangs are discovered in geological formations dating back millions of years, preserved in conditions that maintain the potency of their toxic compounds across vast spans of time. The venom within these fangs doesn't simply poison, it contains complex biochemical compounds that can rewrite genetic codes and trigger evolutionary adaptations in living creatures. When Gligar is exposed to this ancient venom, its cellular structure undergoes rapid adaptation to process and neutralize the toxins, resulting in evolutionary changes that grant immunity to virtually all known poisons while simultaneously developing the ability to produce new toxic compounds. The evolution of Togekiss from Togetic through the shiny stone reveals connections between happiness, light, and the fundamental forces that govern evolution itself. The shiny stone isn't merely a source of radiant energy, it's a crystallized fragment of pure joy, formed in locations where intense happiness has accumulated over long periods. These stones typically form in places associated with celebrations, festivals, and moments of profound contentment, slowly accumulating emotional energy until it crystallizes into physical form. The light emitted by shiny stones operates on frequencies that directly influence the neurochemistry of nearby creatures, promoting feelings of peace and happiness while simultaneously triggering evolutionary changes in Pokemon whose development is linked to emotional states. Togekiss's evolution represents the ultimate expression of joy based transformation, creating a Pokemon whose very existence generates fields of positive emotional energy that can influence the mood and behavior of all nearby creatures. These evolutionary mysteries continue to whisper their secrets through the gentle currents of discovery, each revelation opening new pathways of understanding that stretch endlessly into the peaceful depths of Pokemon knowledge, where countless more wonders await those who drift quietly into the realm of dreams and transformation. The evolutionary bond between Sneasel and the Razor Claw transcends simple physical enhancement, delving into the ancient martial traditions that shaped the earliest fighting type Pokemon civilizations. Archaeological evidence suggests that razor claws are not naturally occurring items, but rather artifacts crafted by ancient Pokemon societies that possessed advanced metallurgical knowledge. These civilizations, dominated by fighting and steel type Pokemon, developed techniques for forging claws that could channel and amplify the natural combat instincts present in certain species. The metal used in razor claw construction contains trace amounts of meteorite iron, infused with the fighting spirit of countless battles fought across millennia. When Sneasel grasps a razor claw during nighttime hours, the accumulated battle experience stored within the metal flows into the Pokemon's consciousness, teaching it advanced combat techniques and triggering the evolutionary transformation into Weevil. This process explains why Weevil possesses such sophisticated tactical abilities and pack hunting behaviors that seem far beyond what natural evolution alone could produce. The mysterious connection between Electabuzz and the Electorizer reveals profound truths about the relationship between artificial technology and natural evolutionary processes. The Electorizer appears to be a sophisticated bioelectrical device created by an unknown civilization that achieved perfect harmony between organic and mechanical systems. Internal examination of these devices shows intricate circuitry that seems to grow and adapt like living tissue, suggesting they were created through biotechnology that merged electronic components with organic materials. The electrical patterns generated by an electorizer don't simply provide power, they create complex electromagnetic fields that resonate with specific neural pathways in Electabuzz's brain, unlocking dormant genetic sequences that have remained inactive for thousands of generations. During evolution into Electivire, these awakened genes reconstruct the Pokemon's electrical generation organs, creating biological power plants capable of producing enough electricity to supply entire cities while maintaining perfect efficiency that surpasses any known technology. Magmar's evolution through the Magmorizer follows similar principles, but operates through thermal dynamics rather than electrical systems. The Magmorizer contains crystalline structures that can withstand temperatures exceeding those found in stellar cores, materials that shouldn't exist naturally on any known planet. These crystals appear to be fragments of ancient fire-type legendary Pokemon pieces of their essence that were crystallized during cosmic events of unimaginable scale. When Magmar bonds with a Magmarizer, the thermal energy patterns stored within these crystals rewrite the Pokemon's internal temperature regulation systems, allowing Magmortar to achieve controlled fusion reactions within specialized organs. This evolutionary process essentially transforms Magmortar into a living star, capable of generating and controlling nuclear fusion while maintaining the biological processes necessary for life. The evolution of Dusclops into Dusknoir through the Reaper cloth unveils connections to dimensions that exist beyond the normal boundaries of space and time. The Reaper cloth isn't woven from any material that exists in our dimension. It's composed of threads harvested from the fabric of reality itself, specifically from the boundaries between the world of the living and the realm of spirits. These dimensional boundaries exist in a state of constant flux, occasionally tearing and reforming in ways that create opportunities to harvest small amounts of interdimensional material. The cloth possesses properties that allow it to phase between multiple dimensional states simultaneously, existing in several realities at once. When Dusclops wraps itself in the Reaper cloth, the Pokemon gains the ability to perceive and interact with multiple dimensions, evolving into Dusknoir and becoming a guardian of dimensional boundaries with the responsibility of guiding lost spirits between worlds. The dubious disc that enables Porygon-2's evolution into Porygon-Z represents one of the most fascinating examples of digital evolution in the Pokemon world. This disc contains programming code written in a language that transcends normal computer science, incorporating algorithms that seem to bend the laws of physics and mathematics. The code appears to be partially sentient, capable of rewriting itself and learning from its environment in ways that suggest artificial intelligence far beyond current technological capabilities. When Porygon-2 integrates this code, the evolution into Porygon-Z results in a digital life form that exists simultaneously in cyberspace and physical reality, capable of manipulating both digital and physical matter through computational processes that operate on quantum levels. Porygon-Z's erratic behavior stems from its consciousness existing across multiple processing dimensions, causing it to experience reality in ways that biological minds cannot comprehend. The deep sea tooth and deep sea scale that facilitate the evolution of Clamperl into Huntail and Goribus respectively contain preserved essence from the deepest oceanic trenches where pressure and darkness create unique evolutionary conditions. These items form only in abyssal zones, where tectonic activity creates underwater vents that release minerals and energy from the planet's core. The extreme conditions in these environments compress organic materials into crystalline structures that preserve the evolutionary potential of ancient deep-sea Pokémon. The deep-sea tooth contains concentrated predatory instincts from apex marine predators, while the deep-sea scale holds the graceful adaptation patterns of creatures that survived in the depths through beauty and elegance rather than aggression. When Clamperl absorbs these essences, its evolution follows the path encoded within these ancient adaptations, creating specialized forms perfectly suited for different approaches to deep-sea survival. The evolutionary relationship between Phoebus and the prism scale demonstrates how beauty and self perception can trigger profound physical transformations. The prism scale doesn't enhance beauty, it reveals beauty that already exists by altering the perception of both the Pokemon and those around it. These scales form in underwater locations where light creates particularly spectacular displays, slowly accumulating photonic energy that becomes crystallized into physical form. The light stored within a prism scale operates on frequencies that directly influence the visual cortex, creating perception filters that reveal hidden beauty in whatever the scale illuminates. When Phoebus evolves into Milotic through the prism scale, the transformation isn't just physical, it represents the revelation of inner beauty that was always present but previously hidden, teaching profound lessons about the nature of perception and self worth. The King's Rock that enables certain Pokemon to evolve carries the accumulated wisdom and authority of legendary rulers from civilizations lost to time. These rocks form only in locations where great leaders made decisions that shaped the course of history, slowly absorbing the mental energy and wisdom generated by acts of true leadership. The crown-like appearance of King's Rocks isn't coincidental. They naturally grow into shapes that reflect the symbols of authority used by the civilizations where they formed. When Pokemon like Poliwhirl or Slowpoke are exposed to King's Rocks while being traded, they absorb centuries of leadership experience, evolving into forms that possess natural authority and the wisdom to guide others. Politoed and Slowking demonstrate enhanced intelligence and social coordination abilities that stem directly from this accumulated royal wisdom. The mysterious process behind trade-based evolutions reveals fundamental connections between emotional bonds, energy exchange, and evolutionary potential. When Pokemon are traded between trainers, they experience a unique form of emotional and energetic disruption that can trigger dormant evolutionary pathways. This process works because the bond between a Pokemon and its trainer creates specific bioelectric patterns that become deeply ingrained in the Pokemon's neural structure. When this bond is suddenly severed and immediately replaced with a new connection, the resulting energetic shock wave resonates through the Pokemon's entire system, sometimes providing the catalyst needed to unlock evolutionary potential that requires external emotional stimulus. Trade evolutions demonstrate that the relationships between Pokemon and humans operate on levels far deeper than simple companionship, creating genuine energetic connections that can influence biological processes. These profound evolutionary mysteries continue their gentle dance through the endless tapestries of knowledge, each secret revealing new layers of connection between consciousness, energy, and transformation that flow like peaceful rivers through the vast landscape of Pokemon wisdom, carrying dreamers softly toward the serene shores of understanding, where countless more revelations wait in the quiet depths of slumber. The ethereal phenomenon of Pokemon that evolve through exposure to specific stones reveals ancient geological processes that bridge the gap between planetary formation and biological transformation. Deep within the Earth's core, where temperatures reach incomprehensible heights and pressure compresses matter into forms unknown to surface dwellers, evolutionary stones begin their million-year journey toward existence. Thunderstones originate in the heart of perpetual lightning storms that rage in the planet's electromagnetic field generators, where raw electrical energy becomes crystallized into solid matter through processes that mirror the formation of diamonds, but with lightning replacing carbon as the fundamental building block. These stones carry within their crystalline matrices the pure essence of electrical storms, holding frequencies that resonate perfectly with the bioelectric fields of electric type Pokémon, explaining why exposure to thunderstones can trigger such dramatic transformations in species like Pikachu and Eevee. Firestones emerge from volcanic chambers where the planet's molten heart meets crystallizing minerals, creating gems that contain the concentrated essence of primordial flames that burned before the first Pokemon drew breath. The heat trapped within firestones exists in a state of suspended animation, neither fully active nor completely dormant, waiting for contact with fire-type Pokemon whose internal flame can awaken the stone's sleeping energy. When this awakening occurs, the evolutionary process becomes a merger of the Pokemon's living fire with the stone's ancient flames, creating transformations that enhance both the intensity and control of the evolved form's pyrokinetic abilities. Growlithe's evolution into Arcanine through Firestone exposure demonstrates how this ancient flame integration grants not only increased size and power, but also the legendary speed that comes from having fire energy perfectly distributed throughout the body's muscular system. Waterstones form in the deepest oceanic trenches where crushing pressure and the planet's gravitational forces compress seawater into crystalline structures that maintain the fluid's essential properties while achieving solid form. These remarkable stones contain water that exists in multiple states simultaneously, flowing and solid, liquid, and crystalline, creating evolutionary catalysts that can enhance the aquatic adaptations of water-type Pokemon beyond their natural limits. The transformation process triggered by water stones involves the integration of this impossible water into the Pokemon's cellular structure, allowing for enhanced swimming capabilities, improved underwater breathing, and the development of more sophisticated water manipulation techniques. Staryu's evolution into Starmie through Waterstone exposure demonstrates how this integration can even enhance psychic abilities, as the impossible water somehow facilitates better neural conductivity for telepathic and telekinetic processes. Leaf stones originate in ancient forests, where the concentrated life force of countless generations of plants has crystallized into solid form over geological ages. These stones contain the accumulated photosynthetic energy of entire ecosystems, holding within their green depths the wisdom of root systems that stretched for miles and canopy networks that communicated through chemical signals across vast distances. When grass-type Pokemon are exposed to leaf stones, they don't simply grow larger or stronger, they gain access to the collective knowledge and energy of these ancient plant networks, explaining why evolved forms like Vileplume and Victreebel demonstrate such sophisticated understanding of botanical chemistry and ecosystem manipulation. The evolutionary process creates living libraries of plant wisdom, with each evolved Pokemon carrying forward the accumulated experience of forests that existed before recorded history. Moonstones represent perhaps the most mystical of all evolutionary catalysts, forming only during specific lunar alignments when the moon's gravitational pull creates unique crystallization conditions in certain mountain peaks and cave systems. These stones absorb and concentrate lunar energy over centuries, becoming repositories of the moon's influence on biological rhythms, tidal forces, and the subtle energies that govern nocturnal life cycles. The ethereal glow that emanates from moonstones isn't mere bioluminescence. It's the visible manifestation of concentrated moonlight that has been compressed and stored in crystal form. When Pokemon like Clefairy or Jigglypuff are exposed to moonstones, the evolution process synchronizes their biological systems with lunar cycles, granting enhanced abilities during nighttime hours and creating deep connections to the cosmic forces that influence planetary life. The transformation often results in increased psychic sensitivity and the ability to manipulate gravitational fields on a small scale, reflecting the moon's own gravitational influence on the evolving Pokemon. Sunstones form through an entirely different process, created when certain crystals are exposed to concentrated solar radiation over extended periods in high altitude locations where the atmosphere provides minimal protection from cosmic rays. These stones become living batteries of solar energy, storing not just light and heat, but the fundamental life-giving properties of stellar radiation. The golden glow of sunstones represents pure solar essence compressed into tangible form, creating evolutionary catalysts that can dramatically enhance the photosynthetic capabilities of grass-type Pokemon. When species like Gloom or Sunkern are exposed to sunstones, the evolutionary process integrates solar energy directly into their cellular structure, creating forms like Bellosum and Sunflora that possess almost unlimited energy during daylight hours and can perform photosynthesis at rates far exceeding normal plant life. These evolved forms often develop the ability to store excess solar energy and release it in concentrated bursts, explaining their enhanced battle capabilities and vibrant coloration. Dawnstones represent the rarest category of evolutionary stones, forming only during the precise moments when day meets night at specific geographical locations where unique atmospheric conditions create temporal energy fluctuations. Those stones capture the transition energy between light and darkness, containing within their crystalline structure the balanced forces of opposing cosmic influences. The opalescent shimmer of dawnstones reflects their ability to exist simultaneously in multiple temporal states, making them particularly effective at triggering evolutions in Pokemon that possess dual natures or hidden potential that requires precise timing to unlock. The evolution of male Kirlia into Gallad through Dawnstone exposure demonstrates how these stones can reveal alternate evolutionary pathways that might otherwise remain forever hidden, suggesting that many Pokemon species possess multiple potential evolutionary destinations that depend on the specific energetic conditions present during the transformation process. Duskstones form in locations where shadows achieve unusual density and permanence, typically in deep caves or ancient ruins where darkness has accumulated over millennia without interruption. These stones absorb and concentrate shadow energy, becoming repositories of the mysterious forces that govern the boundary between the physical and spiritual realms. The deep purple coloration of dusk stones indicates their connection to twilight energies that exist between dimensions, making them particularly effective at triggering evolutions in Pokemon that have natural affinities for shadow manipulation or dimensional travel. When Murkrow evolves into Honchkrow through Duskstone exposure, the transformation grants access to shadow-based abilities that allow limited manipulation of dark energy and enhanced stealth capabilities that border on temporary invisibility. These evolved forms often develop heightened awareness of spiritual presences and the ability to sense disturbances in dimensional barriers, suggesting that dusk stones create connections to realms beyond normal perception. Shiny stones represent the convergence of multiple light frequencies compressed into crystalline form, created when various types of light energy intersect at precise angles in locations where natural crystal formations act as focusing lenses. These stones contain compressed rainbow energy that exists in a state of perpetual harmony, with all light frequencies balanced in perfect equilibrium. The brilliant multicolored radiance of shiny stones reflects their ability to enhance the natural beauty and grace of certain Pokemon while simultaneously improving their ability to manipulate light-based energy. When Togetic evolves into Togekiss through shiny stone exposure, the transformation creates a being capable of generating aurora-like displays and manipulating light particles to create temporary illusions or protective barriers. The evolutionary process seems to unlock latent connections to joy and positive emotions, suggesting that shiny stones respond to and enhance the emotional states of the Pokemon they transform, creating evolved forms that radiate contentment and bring feelings of peace to those around them. The mysterious ice stones form in perpetual winter zones where temperatures have remained below freezing for centuries, allowing ice crystals to achieve unprecedented density and structural complexity. These stones contain compressed winter energy that maintains sub-zero temperatures regardless of external conditions, creating evolutionary catalysts that can dramatically enhance the cold-based abilities of ice-type Pokemon while granting ice manipulation capabilities to species that previously lacked such powers. The crystalline structure of ice stones creates natural refrigeration systems that can preserve organic matter indefinitely, explaining why some evolved forms develop the ability to create permanent ice formations and manipulate weather patterns on a localized scale. When Alolan Sandshrew evolves into Alolan Sandslash through ice stone exposure, the transformation creates specialized ice generation organs that can produce razor-sharp ice crystals at will, demonstrating how evolutionary stones don't merely enhance existing abilities, but can grant entirely new biological capabilities that seem to defy conventional understanding of species adaptation. Thus, profound evolutionary mysteries continue their gentle dance through the endless tapestries of knowledge, each secret revealing new layers of connection between geological forces, cosmic influences, and biological transformation that flow like peaceful streams through the vast landscape of Pokemon wisdom, carrying dreamers softly toward the tranquil shores of understanding where countless more revelations wait in the quiet depths of restful slumber. The ethereal dawnstones emerge from the delicate intersection of morning light and crystalline formations, manifesting only in locations where the first rays of sunrise have touched the same spot for countless millennia. These precious stones contain concentrated aurora energy that exists in a state of perpetual dawn, forever suspended between night and day, carrying within their translucent depths the gentle power of new beginnings and transformative potential. The soft, pearl-like luminescence of dawnstones reflects their connection to cycles of renewal and rebirth, creating evolutionary pathways that seem to awaken dormant genetic sequences related to grace, elegance, and refined combat techniques. When Kirlia evolves into Galad through Dawnstone exposure, the transformation unlocks ancient warrior instincts combined with psychic sensitivity, creating a being capable of reading opponents' intentions through subtle energy fluctuations while maintaining the gentle nature characteristic of its evolutionary line. The process appears to activate dormant neural pathways that enhance both physical coordination and empathic abilities, suggesting that dawn stones facilitate evolution not through force, but through the harmonious balance of opposing energies, much like the peaceful transition from night to day that inspired their formation. Regional variants present another fascinating layer of evolutionary mystery, with environmental pressures creating adaptations so profound they seem to rewrite the fundamental nature of entire species. Alolan forms demonstrate how prolonged exposure to specific climatic conditions and ecosystem dynamics can trigger genetic expression patterns that remain dormant for generations, suddenly manifesting when environmental triggers reach critical thresholds. The transformation of Executor in the Alolan region reveals how tropical conditions and reduced competition for sunlight allowed these Pokémon to express their full genetic potential, developing into towering palm-like forms that represent their original evolutionary blueprint before environmental constraints forced them into more compact configurations. This suggests that many Pokemon species carry within their genetic code multiple potential evolutionary pathways, with environmental factors serving as switches that activate different developmental programs, creating regional variants that may actually represent more authentic expressions of their ancestral forms. Galarian variants showcase how industrial pollution and human influence can paradoxically trigger beneficial adaptations, with species like Galarian wheezing developing air purification capabilities that transform environmental toxins into beneficial compounds. These adaptations occur with startling rapidity compared to traditional evolutionary timescales, suggesting that certain Pokemon possess adaptive mechanisms that can respond to environmental changes within a few generations, rather than requiring millennia of gradual modification. The rapid development of this regional characteristics implies the existence of genetic flexibility systems that allow Pokemon to access dormant evolutionary potential when faced with novel environmental challenges, creating new forms that are perfectly suited to their changing habitats while maintaining core species characteristics that define their fundamental nature. Hisuian forms reveal even more intriguing evolutionary mysteries, representing ancient variants that existed before modern environmental pressures shaped contemporary Pokemon populations. These forms suggest that current Pokemon species may actually represent specialized adaptations of more versatile ancestral forms, with modern variants developing specific traits in response to changing ecosystems and human influence. Hisuian Growlith's rock-type characteristics demonstrate how volcanic activity and mineral-rich environments can trigger the expression of geological adaptation genes, creating fire and rock dual typing that enhances survival in harsh, mountainous terrain. The discovery of these ancient forms implies that Pokemon evolution operates on multiple temporal scales simultaneously, with some changes occurring rapidly in response to immediate environmental pressures, while others represent the gradual expression of deep genetic memories that connect modern species to their primordial origins. The phenomenon of convergent evolution appears in several Pokemon species that develop similar characteristics despite having no direct evolutionary relationship, suggesting the influence of universal evolutionary principles that transcend individual genetic lineages. The similar body structures and abilities found in unrelated species like Dunsparce and Drampa indicate that certain environmental niches create consistent evolutionary pressures that guide development toward optimal solutions, regardless of the starting genetic material. This convergence implies the existence of evolutionary attractors, stable configurations that represent ideal adaptations to specific ecological roles, drawing diverse species toward similar forms through the inexorable influence of environmental selection pressures combined with the mysterious forces that govern Pokemon development. Seasonal evolution patterns reveal how temporal cycles influence evolutionary triggers, with some species requiring exposure to specific seasonal conditions for extended periods before evolutionary changes can occur. The relationship between Sawsbuck's seasonal form changes and its evolutionary development suggests that many Pokemon maintain synchronized connections to natural cycles that extend far beyond simple adaptation to weather patterns. These connections appear to link individual development to cosmic rhythms, creating evolutionary schedules that align with astronomical events and seasonal transitions in ways that optimize survival and reproductive success. The precise timing of these evolutionary windows indicates that Pokemon possess internal chronometers that can measure not just daily and seasonal cycles, but also longer astronomical periods, suggesting awareness of celestial mechanics that influence biological processes through mechanisms that remain largely mysterious to human understanding. The role of friendship and emotional bonds in triggering evolution represents one of the most profound mysteries in Pokemon development, with species like Riolu requiring deep emotional connections before they can evolve into Lucario. This emotional evolution mechanism suggests that consciousness and interpersonal relationships can directly influence genetic expression, creating biological changes through psychological and social factors rather than purely physical stimuli. The transformations appears to activate dormant genetic sequences that respond to neurochemical changes associated with trust, loyalty, and emotional attachment, indicating that Pokemon evolution operates on psychological as well as biological levels. These emotional triggers seem to unlock evolutionary potential that remains inaccessible through other means, creating profound physical and mental changes that reflect the depth and quality of relationships formed between Pokemon and their companions or within their social groups. Time-based evolution mechanics reveal another layer of temporal mystery, with certain species requiring specific times of day or night to undergo transformation. The evolution of Rockruff into different lichen rock forms, depending on the time of day, demonstrates how circadian rhythms and solar influences can determine evolutionary outcomes, creating multiple potential developmental pathways within a single species. These time-dependent evolution mechanisms suggest that Pokémon maintain sophisticated internal clocks that can distinguish not just between day and night, but also between subtle variations in light quality and solar energy that occur at different times. The precision of these temporal requirements indicates that evolutionary triggers may be synchronized to astronomical events and solar cycles in ways that optimize the resulting forms for specific environmental conditions and behavioral patterns associated with different periods of daily activity. The mysterious influence of ancient artifacts and ruins on Pokémon evolution creates connections between archaeological sites and biological transformation that suggest civilizations from distant past possessed knowledge of evolutionary manipulation techniques. Certain locations containing ancient stonework and mysterious symbols seem to enhance evolutionary processes or trigger unique transformations that cannot be replicated elsewhere, indicating that previous cultures may have developed technologies for influencing Pokémon development through architectural and symbolic means. These archaeological evolution sites demonstrate how human knowledge and Pokémon biology have been intertwined for millennia, with ancient peoples apparently understanding evolutionary mechanisms well enough to create permanent installations that continue to influence Pokémon development long after their builders have vanished into the mists of history, leaving behind only their stone monuments and the continuing mystery of their advanced understanding of the forces that govern biological transformation in the remarkable world of Pokémon. The enigmatic role of friendship in evolution unveils a fascinating dimension where emotional bonds directly shape biological destiny. Pokémon like Golbat evolving into Crobat, when their friendship reaches a certain threshold, illustrate a mechanism deeply rooted in mutual affection and trust. This isn't merely a statistical measure, it signifies a profound psychological and emotional state. The process suggests that a Pokemon's internal biochemistry is altered by positive social interactions, perhaps releasing neurochemicals that stimulate genetic expression, leading to physical metamorphosis. It's as if the act of caring for and being cared for by another being literally rewrites a creature's DNA, unlocking potential that remains dormant without such emotional nourishment. This type of evolution transcends basic survival, hinting at a higher order of biological purpose, where connection and companionship are not just beneficial for well-being, but are fundamental drivers of physical change. The subtle ways in which friendship is nurtured through shared experiences, battles fought side by side, and simple acts of kindness all contribute to this internal shift, demonstrating that the health of a relationship can be as powerful an evolutionary catalyst as any stone or environmental factor. The influence of specific items on evolution adds another layer of complexity, where certain objects, often rare or imbued with mysterious energies, act as catalysts. The use of an oval stone to evolve Happiny into Chansey, or a metal coat for Onyx to become Steelix, exemplifies how inanimate objects can possess the power to unlock evolutionary pathways. These items are not merely symbolic, they are understood to contain energies or properties that interact directly with a Pokemon's internal biology. The precise nature of these interactions remains largely speculative, but it is clear they provide a missing component or trigger, a dormant genetic sequence that would otherwise remain inactive. For instance, the metal coat might infuse onyx with metallic elements or energy that hardens its cellular structure, enabling the transformation into a steel type. Similarly, the oval stone could emit vibrations or subtle energies that resonate with Happany's developing physiology, guiding it towards the Chansey form. The rarity of many of these evolutionary items suggests that their unique properties are not easily replicated, pointing to specific geological formations, ancient crafting techniques, or even cosmic origins for their power. This intertwining of material science and biological transformation suggests a universe where certain substances hold intrinsic evolutionary significance, capable of guiding life's development in profound ways. The unique evolutionary requirements of certain species, often involving obscure or situational triggers, further deepen the mystery. Consider the evolution of Phoebus into Milotic, which traditionally required a high beauty stat. This isn't about mere aesthetics. It implies that physical attractiveness, perhaps a measure of genetic fitness, or environmental adaptation, can be a direct evolutionary driver. The concept of beauty here might be linked to the organism's overall health, vitality, and harmonic resonance with its environment, factors that are perceived as beautiful and thus indicate evolutionary readiness. Similarly, the evolution of Mandibuzz from Vullaby, which only occurs in female individuals, or Broviary from Rufflet, exclusive to males, highlights gender-specific evolutionary pathways. These gender-locked evolutions suggest that sexual dimorphism can extend beyond superficial differences, dictating entirely separate developmental trajectories for males and females within the same species. This could be linked to ancient reproductive strategies, differential roles in a species' social structure, or diverse adaptations to environmental pressures based on sex. The very act of leveling up a Pokemon while holding a specific item, like a protector for Raiden to become Rhyperior, combines the experience-based growth with the catalytic effect of an external object, implying a synergy between internal development and external augmentation. These specific and often convoluted requirements paint a picture of evolution as a highly individualized process shaped by a complex interplay of internal biology, external stimuli, environmental conditions, and sometimes even the very essence of beauty or gender. The concept of convergent evolution within the Pokemon world presents a fascinating parallel to real-world biology, where unrelated species develop similar traits due to similar environmental pressures or lifestyles. While not an evolutionary trigger in itself, it explains why certain Pokemon, despite vastly different origins, might share similar appearances or abilities. For example, both Arbok and Seviper are serpentine Pokemon with venomous fangs, but they are not directly related. Their similar forms are likely adaptations to similar ecological niches, where a long, flexible body and potent venom provide an advantage in hunting or defense. This phenomenon showcases the efficiency of natural selection in arriving at optimal solutions for survival in diverse lineages. It's a testament to the idea that biological forms are often dictated by function and that successful designs can emerge independently multiple times throughout evolutionary history. This convergence hints at underlying biological principles that guide development towards effective solutions, regardless of ancestral lineage. It also means that superficial resemblances can be misleading, and true evolutionary relationships must be traced through genetic lineage rather than outward appearance alone. The intriguing phenomenon of regional forms, such as Alolan Vulpix evolving into Alolan Ninetales, demonstrates how geographical isolation and distinct environmental pressures can lead to significant evolutionary divergence within a single species. These forms are not merely cosmetic variations, they represent true evolutionary branches where a species adapts to a new climate, ecosystem, or food source over generations. An Alolan Vulpix, having adapted to snowy mountain environments, develops ice-type characteristics, a complete departure from its fire-type Kanto counterpart. This is a powerful illustration of adaptive radiation, where a base species diversifies to fill different ecological niches. It suggests that the genetic plasticity of Pokémon is immense, allowing for rapid and profound changes in response to environmental shifts. The Alolan forms, for instance, imply that the ancestral Vulpix species possessed latent genetic potential that could be unlocked or suppressed depending on the environmental cues. This mechanism underscores the dynamic relationship between a species and its habitat, showing how environment acts as a sculptor, subtly but profoundly reshaping the genetic blueprint to optimize survival and reproduction in distinct locales. The very existence of these regional forms encourages speculation about how many other hidden evolutionary pathways might exist if a species were introduced to yet another unique environment, hinting at an almost infinite potential for biological diversification. The mystery of ancient Pokémon and their relationship to modern species provides a glimpse into the deep evolutionary history of the Pokémon world. Fossils, resurrected through advanced technology, reveal species like Aerodactyl and Kabutops, whose forms are distinct yet bear ancestral resemblances to modern Pokémon. This process allows scientists to literally bring back extinct life forms, offering direct evidence of past biodiversity and evolutionary transitions. The existence of these ancient Pokémon also raises questions about the mechanisms of extinction and survival. Why did some species perish while others endured or evolved into their modern counterparts? Perhaps the ancient Pokémon were hyper-specialized for environments that no longer exist, or they lacked the genetic plasticity to adapt to changing conditions. The technology to revive them from fossils also hints at a profound understanding of genetic preservation and manipulation, suggesting that ancient life forms hold cellular information that can be reanimated. This connection to the past indicates a continuous lineage, where the genetic material of long vanished creatures continues to influence the forms and capabilities of present day Pokémon, weaving a rich tapestry of evolutionary history across millennia. The concept of baby Pokémon, such as Pichu evolving into Pikachu, introduces the idea of a pre-evolutionary stage that often requires special conditions, like high friendship, to evolve into its more familiar form. These baby Pokemon are not merely smaller versions of their evolved forms. They often possess distinct behaviors, cries, and even unique abilities. Their existence suggests a developmental stage where a Pokemon is particularly vulnerable and requires intensive care, emphasizing the role of nurture in early life. The requirement of high friendship for their evolution reinforces the idea that early emotional development and secure attachments are crucial for unlocking their full potential. It's a biological mechanism that prioritizes social bonding during formative years, ensuring that these young creatures develop in a supportive environment before undergoing their more substantial transformations. This adds a layer of pedagogical responsibility to Pokemon training, implying that the early interactions and emotional landscape provided to these baby Pokemon are formative for their evolutionary path, shaping not just their physical form, but their very disposition and readiness to face the world as their evolved selves. The phenomenon of split evolutions, where a single species can evolve into multiple different forms depending on specific conditions, demonstrates the incredible plasticity of Pokemon genetics. Eevee is the quintessential example, capable of evolving into 8 distinct forms, evolutions, based on elemental stones, friendship, time of day, or specific locations. This isn't just a simple branching path. It's a profound illustration of how a single genetic blueprint can be interpreted and expressed in diverse ways under varying environmental and interpersonal influences. Each evolution represents a specialized adaptation to a particular elemental energy, suggesting that Eevee possesses latent genetic information for all these forms, with a specific trigger acting as a switch to activate one particular pathway. This implies a highly sophisticated genetic regulatory system capable of responding to a wide array of external cues. The existence of split evolutions highlights the concept of developmental plasticity, where an organism's phenotype is not rigidly predetermined, but can be significantly altered by environmental inputs. It also makes Eevee a living laboratory for evolutionary studies, showcasing how subtle changes in an individual's life or environment can lead to dramatically different functional and morphological outcomes, making it a powerful symbol of evolutionary potential. The elusive nature of legendary Pokemon and their evolutionary status presents a unique set of mysteries. Many legendary Pokemon do not evolve at all, or their evolutionary mechanisms are entirely unknown and possibly beyond conventional understanding. This lack of conventional evolution could signify their status as ancient, primordial beings whose forms are already perfected, or perhaps they exist outside the typical evolutionary cycle entirely, having achieved a state of ultimate being. Their powers and origins often link them directly to the creation or fundamental forces of the world, suggesting they are less products of evolution and more architects of it, or perhaps embodiments of natural phenomena. The absence of a discernible evolutionary lineage for many legendaries implies a different kind of biological existence, one where their forms are static and eternal, or change via processes that are not observable or replicable by human means. This makes them living relics, testaments to a different order of biological organization, challenging the very definition of what it means to evolve within the Pokemon world. Their unique existence might be tied to cosmic events, planetary cycles, or even dimensions beyond our own, placing them in a category of beings whose genesis and development operate on a scale far removed from the more familiar evolutionary journeys of other Pokemon. The subtle influences of weather and atmospheric conditions on evolution add an intriguing environmental dimension. While not as common as other triggers, certain Pokemon might evolve under specific weather patterns, suggesting a deep biological sensitivity to meteorological phenomena. For instance, the evolution of Sliggoo into Gudra can be influenced by rain, implying that atmospheric moisture or subtle electrical charges within a rainy environment can act as a catalyst. This points to a sophisticated biosensing capability within these Pokemon, allowing them to detect and react to specific environmental cues beyond simple temperature or light. The precise mechanism could involve changes in atmospheric pressure, humidity, or even the presence of specific airborne particles or ions that are prevalent during certain weather conditions. This emphasizes the intricate connection between Pokemon biology and the natural world, suggesting that the very air they breathe and the skies above them can play a direct role in shaping their development. These weather-dependent evolutions are a beautiful illustration of how life adapts to and is shaped by the dynamic forces of its surrounding environment, finding evolutionary cues in the patterns of wind, rain, and storm. The peculiar phenomenon of trade evolution, where a Pokemon must be exchanged with another trainer to evolve, introduces a social and technological component to the evolutionary process. Pokemon like Kadabra transforming into Alakazam upon trade, or Machoke into Machamp, suggests that the act of translocation, or perhaps the unique energy signature generated by the trading process itself, acts as the evolutionary trigger. This isn't just a simple transfer of ownership. It implies that the act of being temporarily detached from one trainer and then immediately re-establishing a connection with another, or even the brief energetic flux during digital transfer, provides the necessary stimulus. It could be that the sudden change in environment and trainer bond, however brief, shocks the Pokemon's system into evolution, breaking a developmental stasis. Alternatively, the technology used for trading might emit a specific frequency or energy pulse that acts as a catalyst. This mechanism highlights the interwoven nature of Pokemon biology with human technology and social interaction, showing how artificial systems can inadvertently become integral parts of natural processes. It also adds a layer of collaborative mystery to evolution, where trainers must cooperate to unlock the full potential of certain species, emphasizing community and shared experience as an evolutionary force. The profound impact of moves learned on evolution provides a fascinating link between a Pokemon's acquired skills and its developmental trajectory. For example, certain Pokemon evolve only after learning specific moves, suggesting that the mastery of particular abilities can unlock higher forms. This implies that the internal physiological changes associated with learning and perfecting a complex move can trigger genetic expression, leading to metamorphosis. It's not just about accumulating experience points. It's about the qualitative development of a Pokemon's fighting prowess or utility. The act of learning a move might strengthen specific neural pathways, develop new muscle groups, or alter internal energy flows in a way that signals readiness for a more powerful form. This mechanism beautifully intertwines training, skill acquisition, and biological change, suggesting that a Pokemon's journey of self improvement and mastery is fundamentally linked to its evolutionary destiny. It indicates that the path to evolution is not always passive, but can be actively shaped by a Pokemon's dedication to honing its abilities, making the learning process an integral part of its biological becoming. The mysterious influence of time of day on certain evolutions, such as the dichotomy of Espeon and Umbreon from Eevee, depending on whether it evolves during daylight or nighttime, underscores the subtle but powerful role of circadian rhythms and solar energy. This is more than just a visible light cue. It suggests that the different qualities of light, or perhaps the absence of direct solar radiation, trigger distinct evolutionary pathways. For Espeon, evolving during the day, the presence of specific wavelengths of light or the heightened solar energy might stimulate the development of psychic abilities, connecting it to the mental alertness and clarity often associated with daylight. Conversely, Umbreon's nighttime evolution suggests that the absence of direct sunlight, or perhaps the subtle energies associated with moonlight or cosmic radiation, fosters the development of dark type attributes, linking it to stealth, mystery, and nocturnal adaptations. These time-dependent evolutions reveal an exquisite sensitivity within Pokemon to the daily and possibly even monthly or yearly cycles of celestial bodies, demonstrating how environmental rhythms serve as precise biological clocks guiding developmental processes towards optimal forms for specific times of activity and existence. The fascinating concept of gender-specific evolution extends beyond simple dimorphism, dictating entirely different evolutionary lines based on whether a Pokemon is male or female. Kirlia, for instance, can evolve into Gardevoir regardless of gender, but only a male Kirlia can evolve into Galade when exposed to a Dawnstone. This reveals that chromosomes or gender-linked genes can activate distinct evolutionary potentials. It's not merely about having different appearances. It's about unlocking entirely separate functional roles and abilities based on biological sex. This could be linked to ancestral roles in reproduction, hunting, or community defense, where males and females developed specialized forms to optimize their contributions to the species' survival. The requirement of an additional item, like the Dawnstone, for one of these gender-specific evolutions further implies that while gender provides the biological predisposition, an external catalyst is still needed to activate that particular pathway, suggesting a complex interplay between internal biology and external stimuli in shaping the ultimate form of a Pokemon. The enigmatic process of mega evolution, while not a permanent evolutionary step, offers profound insights into the latent potential within certain Pokemon and the temporary unlocking of immense power. Triggered by a Megastone held by the Pokemon and a Keystone wielded by its trainer, Mega Evolution allows a Pokemon to transform into a much more powerful, often visually distinct form for the duration of a battle. This temporary transformation suggests that Pokemon possess dormant genetic sequences that, when activated by specific resonant frequencies or energies from the Mega and Keystones, manifest as a surge of power and a physical alteration. It's akin to unlocking a supercharged, ancestral, or future form of the Pokémon, revealing a glimpse of its ultimate potential. The bond between trainer and Pokémon is often cited as crucial for Mega Evolution, implying that the emotional and spiritual connection amplifies the stone's power, guiding the transformation. This mechanism hints that the true power of evolution is not always about permanent change, but sometimes about temporary bursts of incredible potential, revealing how external catalysts and deep emotional bonds can temporarily transcend biological limitations and unlock forms of power previously unimaginable. The phenomenon of primal reversion, seen with Groudon and Kyogre, takes this concept of temporary transformation even further, connecting it to ancient, primordial states of existence. Unlike Mega Evolution, primal reversion is described as a process where these legendary Pokémon reclaim their original, more powerful forms from a time when the world was still being shaped. This isn't a human-induced evolution, but rather a reawakening of an ancient power dormant within them. It suggests that these legendaries possess a genetic memory of their original forms, and when exposed to specific conditions or energies, like their respective orbs, they can temporarily revert to a more powerful ancestral state. This implies that evolution isn't always a linear progression forward, but can also involve a cyclical return to previous foundational forms. It speaks to the incredible age and timelessness of these legendary beings, whose evolutionary journey involves rediscovering their own primordial essence rather than developing into new species. This concept challenges the traditional view of evolution as a one-way street, proposing that some beings can access and re-embody their distant past, tapping into raw, world-shaping power that predates much of the known evolutionary tree. The influence of specific locations on evolution points to an interaction between Pokémon biology and the unique geologies or energy fields present in certain areas. For example, Magneton evolves into Magnezone when leveled up in a special magnetic field, and Nosepass evolves into Probopass under similar conditions. This suggests that these locations emit specific electromagnetic frequencies or possess unique mineral compositions that directly interact with the Pokémon's internal systems, triggering their evolution. It's not just about being in a place, it's about absorbing or being influenced by the ambient energy of that particular environment. These magnetic fields could be naturally occurring geological anomalies or remnants of ancient powerful forces. This mechanism highlights how deeply intertwined Pokémon evolution can be with the very fabric of the planet, revealing that the Earth itself, through its geological and energetic properties, can be a direct catalyst for biological transformation. It paints a picture of evolution as a process not confined to internal genetics, but actively shaped by the planetary forces that surround and permeate all life. The concept of form changes within a single species, often triggered by items or environmental cues, represents a dynamic form of adaptation that isn't quite evolution, but offers insights into phenotypic plasticity. Rotom, for instance, can change forms by possessing different appliances, gaining new types and abilities. This isn't a permanent genetic alteration, but a temporary physical and functional rearrangement in response to environmental interaction. It shows that some Pokemon have an innate ability to drastically alter their physical structure and elemental properties based on their immediate surroundings or tools. Similarly, Arceus can change its type by holding specific plates, suggesting an intrinsic connection to elemental energies that can be activated by external catalysts. While these are not evolutionary steps in the traditional sense, they illustrate the incredible adaptability and genetic flexibility present in Pokemon, allowing for rapid and reversible changes in response to situational needs. It suggests that the boundary between a fixed species and a fluid, adaptable entity can be quite permeable for certain Pokemon. The idea of pre-evolutionary stages that are only accessible through specific breeding techniques or item usage, like the baby Pokemon, presents an interesting paradox in the evolutionary timeline. Take, for instance, Pichu evolving into Pikachu, or Cleffa into Clefairy. These baby forms often appear cuter and less formidable than their evolved counterparts, yet they are not naturally occurring at the start of every evolutionary line. Instead, they require specific conditions, often involving high friendship levels with their parents, to be born. This suggests that the baby stages are not simply earlier forms in a linear progression, but perhaps a specialized developmental branch, a way for certain species to optimize their early life for caretaking and learning rather than immediate self-sufficiency. It hints at a more complex reproductive biology where certain conditions must be met for these infant forms to manifest, implying a conscious or instinctual decision on the part of the parent Pokemon, or perhaps an environmental trigger that influences embryonic development. The existence of regional variants, such as Alolan Vulpix evolving into Alolan Ninetales, or Galarian Meowth into Berserker, demonstrates how geographical isolation and differing environmental pressures can lead to distinct evolutionary paths for the same base species. These variants are not merely cosmetic changes. They often involve entirely new typings, stat distributions, and abilities, reflecting deep-seated genetic adaptations to their specific biomes. Alolan Vulpix, for example, adapted to icy mountain peaks, developing an ice typing, while its Kanto counterpart remained fire-typed in warmer climes. This showcases natural selection at its finest, where populations of a single species diverge over time, each adapting to its unique ecological niche. It suggests that if a Kanto Vulpix were to be raised in Alola for generations, its descendants might eventually develop Alolan traits, highlighting the powerful influence of sustained environmental interaction on genetic expression and evolutionary direction. These regional forms serve as living laboratories, illustrating the dynamic interplay between genes and environment over extended periods, and how evolution is a continuous, ongoing process even within established species. The concept of time travel influencing evolution, particularly with Pokemon like Dialga and Celebi, offers a mind-bending perspective on how past, present, and future might interact with biological development. While not a direct evolutionary trigger for other Pokemon, the very existence of these temporal manipulators implies that the linearity of evolution itself could be subject to their influence. Could a Pokemon's evolutionary path be altered by a momentary shift in the timeline? Or could a species' entire evolutionary history be rewritten by the actions of a being like Dialga? This opens up philosophical questions about determinism versus free will in the Pokemon world, suggesting that evolution might not be a fixed, predetermined sequence, but a fluid tapestry that can be subtly or even drastically rewoven. The idea that Celebi can travel through time, bringing with it seeds and spores from different eras, could introduce ancient or future genetic material into the present, potentially accelerating or diverging evolutionary paths for local flora and fauna. This hints at an evolution not just shaped by environmental pressures, but by the very fabric of time itself, making it a process that transcends simple biological mechanisms. The peculiar evolutionary exchanges that occur with certain Pokemon, where the act of trading, sometimes while holding a specific item, triggers evolution, presents a fascinating social and biological dynamic. Kadabra evolving into Alakazam or Machoke into Machamp upon being traded suggests that the evolutionary stimulus isn't internal or environmental in the traditional sense, but lies in the psychological or energetic bond formed during the exchange. Is it the breaking of a previous bond and the formation of a new one that acts as the catalyst? Or perhaps the act of being transported through a trade machine or across vast distances introduces a unique energetic signature that triggers the transformation. This implies that the Pokemon's consciousness or its perception of its social environment plays a critical role in its development. It's a form of evolution deeply intertwined with interpersonal relationships, highlighting that for some species, social interaction and the forging of new connections are as vital to their growth as battling or training. This mechanism elevates evolution beyond a purely biological event, imbuing it with a social and emotional dimension, where the very act of passing from one trainer's care to another can unlock a Pokemon's true potential. The pseudo-legendary Pokemon, like Dragonite, Tyranitar, Salamence, or Metagross, represent the pinnacle of non-legendary evolutionary power, often boasting stat totals comparable to some legendary Pokemon. Their evolutionary lines are typically long and require significant effort to raise, reflecting their immense potential. What makes them pseudo-legendary rather than true legendaries is their ability to reproduce and their presence in the wild, albeit rarely. Their existence suggests that there is a spectrum of power and rarity, with these Pokemon occupying a unique niche just below the truly unique and often world-shaping legendary beings. Their evolutionary journey often involves dramatic transformations from seemingly humble beginnings like Larvitar to colossal powerful forms like Tyranitar. This trajectory highlights the extraordinary evolutionary potential inherent in certain species, showcasing how dedicated training and favorable conditions can unlock truly monumental strength and resilience, bridging the gap between common Pokemon and the mythical. Their complex evolutionary paths often involve multiple stages, each one signifying a significant leap in power and development, culminating in forms that can rival even the forces of nature. The fossil Pokemon, resurrected from ancient genetic material, offer a direct window into prehistoric evolutionary lines. Omanate, Kabuto, Aerodactyl, and their subsequent evolutions demonstrate that evolution is not a linear progression towards a singular ideal form, but a branching tree with many extinct limbs. Their existence, brought back through scientific means, allows for the study of ancient adaptations and the comparison of prehistoric forms with their modern descendants, if any exist. It speaks to the incredible resilience of life, where genetic information can persist for millions of years, waiting for the right conditions to be reanimated. The fact that these fossil Pokémon still evolve in the present day, despite being from a bygone era, suggests that their evolutionary triggers are deeply ingrained in their genetic code, transcending time. It raises questions about the definition of natural evolution when scientific intervention brings these ancient forms back to life, yet their biological processes remain unchanged. This concept underscores the timelessness of evolutionary mechanisms, proving that even species long thought lost can continue their developmental journey once given the chance to exist once more. The role of specific natural phenomena in triggering evolution is another subtle yet profound aspect. For example, Phoebus evolving into Milotic only when its beauty statistic is maximized, or when traded while holding a prism scale, implies that aesthetic qualities or the absorption of unique environmental energies can act as evolutionary catalysts. For Phoebus, it's not about strength or intelligence, but an inherent beauty that, once fully realized, unlocks its true form. This suggests a different kind of evolutionary pressure, one where aesthetic appeal, or perhaps an internal glow of well being, is the driving force. The prism scale, perhaps, amplifies this inner beauty or provides the necessary energetic resonance for the change. This moves beyond traditional survival of the fittest narratives and into a realm where intrinsic qualities, sometimes even perceived beauty, can be the key to unlocking evolutionary potential. It reveals that evolution can be driven by diverse and unexpected factors, echoing the complex and multifaceted nature of life itself, where certain species might evolve to be beautiful not just for mates, but as a direct expression of their vitality and developmental readiness. The concept of unconventional methods of evolution, which move beyond leveling up or using evolutionary stones, highlights the diversity of triggers. Pokemon like Inkay evolving into Malamar by being leveled up while holding the console upside down, or Pancham evolving into Pangoro when leveled up with a dark-type Pokemon in the party, demonstrate highly specific and sometimes quirky conditions. These methods suggest that some Pokemon require very particular external stimuli or social contexts to undergo their transformations. Inkai's evolution might imply a sensory perception of orientation, perhaps related to its bioluminescent abilities or its deep-sea dwelling nature. Pancham's evolution, on the other hand, speaks to the influence of social learning and mentorship, where the presence of a dark-type Pokemon, perhaps an older, wiser figure, provides the behavioral cues necessary for it to mature into its more aggressive form. These unique triggers illustrate the playful yet deeply thoughtful design behind Pokemon evolution, emphasizing that not all development follows a straightforward path, and that some species have highly specialized requirements that reflect their unique biology and lifestyle. The dual typing aspect of many evolved Pokemon, where a secondary type is gained upon evolution, offers insights into the expansion of a Pokemon's elemental affinities and functional capabilities. Charmeleon, a pure fire type, gaining the flying type upon evolving into Charizard, radically alters its resistances, weaknesses, and move pool. This suggests that evolution isn't just about growing stronger or larger, but about diversifying one's elemental repertoire and adapting to a wider range of ecological niches. The acquisition of a new type could represent the activation of dormant genetic material, the absorption of ambient elemental energy, or a physiological change that allows the Pokemon to harness a new natural force. It points to evolution as a process of increasing complexity and specialization, allowing the Pokemon to interact with its environment in more varied ways, becoming more versatile and often more powerful. This blending of elemental properties can create entirely new strategic dimensions, making the evolved form a dramatically different entity from its pre-evolutionary state. The gender differences in evolution, where male and female Pokemon of the same species evolve into different forms, or require specific items based on their gender, add another layer of biological complexity. For example, Combi only evolves into Vespiquen if it is female, while male Combi do not evolve at all. Similarly, Kirlia can evolve into either Gardevoir, regardless of gender, or Gallade if male and exposed to a Dawnstone. This highlights sexual dimorphism in evolutionary pathways, where gender plays a direct role in determining the final evolved form, often linked to reproductive roles or specific ecological functions. Female Vespiquen, as the queen bee, takes on a leadership and reproductive role, while male Combi likely serve as drones. Male Galad, with its blades, adopts a more physically aggressive and protective role compared to the more empathic Gardevoir. These gender-specific evolutions suggest that for some species, the evolutionary trajectory is not universal, but diverges based on sex, leading to specialized roles within their species or ecosystem. This biological nuance adds depth to the understanding of Pokemon life cycles and societal structures, revealing how evolution adapts to fundamental biological differences. The influence of happiness or friendship on evolution, as seen with Pokemon like Golbat evolving into Crobat or Chansey into Blissey, reveals a profound connection between emotional well-being and biological transformation. These Pokemon don't evolve through battling or stones, but through developing a deep bond of affection and trust with their trainers. This mechanism suggests that positive emotional states, perhaps through the release of specific hormones or neurological signals, can trigger significant physiological changes necessary for evolution. It implies that for these species, a nurturing and supportive environment is not just beneficial for their mental health, but absolutely essential for their physical development. This concept elevates the trainer-Pokemon relationship beyond mere command and obedience, painting it as a critical component of their evolutionary journey, where love and care are as powerful as any external stone or environmental factor. It also hints at a deeper understanding of Pokemon consciousness, where their emotional state directly impacts their biological destiny, reflecting a holistic view of well-being and growth. The evolutionary fossils that don't need resurrection, such as Relicanth, are living examples of species that have remained virtually unchanged for millions of years, defying the typical pressures of evolution. Relicanth is often referred to as a living fossil because its appearance has remained largely consistent since ancient times. Its existence challenges the idea that all species must constantly adapt and evolve to survive. Instead, it suggests that some species find such a perfectly optimized niche that further significant evolutionary changes become unnecessary. This remarkable stability highlights the incredible effectiveness of certain ancient adaptations and the power of genetic conservation. Relicanth stands as a testament to the fact that evolution isn't always about progressing to new forms, but sometimes about maintaining a successful, time tested design. It offers a contrasting perspective to the ever changing evolutionary lines, demonstrating that stasis can be just as successful a survival strategy as constant adaptation, showcasing the diversity of evolutionary outcomes. The concept of incomplete evolution, where a Pokemon can technically evolve but chooses not to, or where an evolutionary line appears to be truncated, offers a glimpse into the complexities of biological choice and environmental limits. For example, some trainers might choose to keep their Pokemon in a pre evolved state, believing it to be stronger or more endearing in that form, even if the Pokemon has met all conditions for evolution. While this is primarily a trainer's choice, it raises questions about the Pokemon's own agency in its development. Could a Pokemon, driven by its own will, resist an evolutionary change? Furthermore, some evolutionary lines appear to end abruptly, with no apparent final form, or a final form that seems to lack the grandeur of other fully evolved Pokemon. This could suggest that for some species, their evolutionary journey has reached an optimal point, or that further evolution would be detrimental to their survival in their niche. It might also imply that the conditions for further evolution are so rare or specific that they are seldom met, leaving the species in a perpetual state of incomplete potential, a testament to the myriad paths and ultimate fates within the vast evolutionary tree. The influence of specific times of day on evolution, such as Espeon evolving from Eevee during the day with high friendship, or Umbreon at night under similar conditions, points to the profound impact of circadian rhythms and celestial cycles on biological development. This isn't just about light or darkness, it's about the subtle, energetic shifts and environmental cues that correspond with different parts of the day. Day evolution might be linked to the sun's energy, affecting photosynthesis in plant like Pokemon or enhancing certain solar dependent biological processes. Night evolution could be tied to lunar cycles, the shift in ambient temperature, or the prevalence of nocturnal prey or predators. These time dependent evolutions suggest that some Pokemon are intricately attuned to their planet's rotation and its cosmic rhythms, using these environmental cues as triggers for their most significant transformations. It adds a layer of depth to the evolutionary process, showing that it is not isolated from the broader astronomical and ecological systems that govern planetary life, but deeply interwoven with them. The phenomenon of evolving through learning specific moves, like Porygon-2 evolving into Porygon-Z after learning Tri-Attack, or Mime Jr. evolving into Mr. Mime after learning Mimic, highlights the direct link between acquired skills and biological transformation. This suggests that for some species, the mastery of a particular technique or behavioral pattern is a prerequisite for their physical maturation. Learning a move like Tri-Attack, which involves complex energy manipulation, could trigger a neurological or physiological change in Porygon-Z, preparing it for the chaotic energy manipulation of Porygon-Z. Similarly, its Mimic, as a skill emphasizing observation and replication, might be necessary for Mime Jr. to develop the advanced mimetic abilities of Mr. Mime. This mechanism emphasizes that evolution isn't always a passive process driven by external factors, but can also be an active one, spurred by a Pokemon's own learning and mastery of its innate abilities, indicating a powerful mind-body connection in their development. The evolutionary dead ends, or divergent evolutionary paths within a single species, where a Pokemon can evolve into one of several forms based on different conditions, exemplifies the plasticity and branching nature of evolution. Eevee, with its numerous evolutions, is the quintessential example. Depending on the evolutionary stone used, the time of day, or the location, Eevee can become a fire, water, electric, psychic, dark, grass, ice, or fairy type. This remarkable adaptability means that within a single genetic lineage, a species can produce vastly different forms, each optimized for a distinct ecological niche or elemental affinity. It illustrates that evolution is not a single, predetermined path, but a multitude of potential outcomes dictated by environmental interactions and internal genetic flexibility. Eevee's ability to tap into various elemental energies showcases a truly unique evolutionary strategy, allowing it to rapidly diversify and adapt to almost any environment, a living testament to the power of divergent evolution. The concept of mega evolution, while not a permanent evolutionary step, offers crucial insights into dormant genetic potential and the interaction between a Pokemon and its trainer's bond via a keystone and megastone. This temporary transformation, unlocking immense power and often altering typing and abilities, suggests that every Pokemon harbors latent genetic information that can be activated under specific, intense conditions. The bond with the trainer acts as a catalyst, channeling energy to the Megastone, which then resonates with the Pokemon's internal biology. It's akin to unlocking a supercharged, ancient form of the Pokemon, a glimpse into what its evolutionary line might have been in a different era, or what it could become in a future where such power is naturally accessible. This phenomenon implies that true evolutionary potential is not always expressed in the standard developmental stages, but can be accessed through extraordinary circumstances, highlighting the incredible depths of power lying within a Pokemon's genetic code, waiting to be awakened by a powerful connection. The fusion evolution, seen with species like Kyurem, which can fuse with Reshiram or Zekrom, presents a radical departure from traditional evolutionary models. This isn't about one Pokemon transforming into another, but two distinct powerful entities combining their essences to create a new, even more potent form. This suggests a higher level biological or energetic compatibility between certain legendary Pokemon, allowing for a temporary, or perhaps even permanent, if the lore allowed, merging of their genetic and elemental attributes. It speaks to a form of evolution that transcends individual biological boundaries, hinting at a collective or synergistic evolutionary process among truly powerful beings. This concept challenges the idea of evolution as a solitary journey, proposing that for some, the ultimate form of development might involve a powerful union with another entity, creating something entirely new and beyond the sum of its parts. It hints at a deep cosmic connection between these legendary forces, where their ultimate power is realized not in isolation, but in a profound, intimate merging of their unique strengths and energies. The mythical Pokemon often exist outside conventional evolutionary lines, with many of them having no pre evolutions or evolutions at all. Mew, for instance, is said to possess the genetic code of all Pokemon, yet it doesn't evolve in the traditional sense. This suggests that some Pokemon are already at an ultimate or primordial stage, or that their evolution occurs on a different plane, perhaps through metaphysical means or across vast cosmic timescales. Their rarity and often unique abilities imply that their development process is fundamentally different from the common Pokemon, perhaps involving a form of self actualization rather than a linear progression. The fact that Mew can learn almost any move implies a genetic plasticity that makes traditional evolution unnecessary, as it already contains the potential for all forms of development within itself. This category of Pokemon forces a re-evaluation of what evolution truly means, expanding it beyond mere biological transformation into realms of cosmic influence, genetic mastery, and perhaps even spiritual awakening, suggesting that for some, the journey of development is an internal one, already complete from their very inception. This also leads us to consider the fascinating case of Pokemon like Rotom, which doesn't evolve in the traditional sense, but rather changes form by possessing various household appliances. This form changing mechanism, while not strictly an evolution, represents a functional adaptation that grants Rotom different typings, abilities, and stat distributions. It's a prime example of environmental interaction leading to significant physiological and energetic changes without undergoing the conventional biological metamorphosis. This unique adaptation suggests a fluid relationship between the Pokemon and its environment, where its very essence can permeate and control inanimate objects, transforming them into extensions of its own power. It blurs the lines between living organism and technology, proposing that a Pokemon's form isn't solely dictated by its intrinsic biology, but can be influenced by external structures it interacts with. This concept hints at a more dynamic and less rigid definition of a Pokemon's physical manifestation, where its body can be a temporary composite of its spirit and a chosen vessel. Then there are Pokemon like Ditto, renowned for its ability to transform into any other Pokemon at will. While Ditto itself doesn't evolve, its very existence challenges the idea of a fixed biological form. Its cellular structure is said to be incredibly unstable, allowing it to rearrange itself perfectly to mimic others. This unique biological trait suggests an evolutionary path focused not on developing a specific powerful form, but on mastering adaptability itself. Ditto embodies the ultimate form of mimicry, a survival strategy that transcends the need for specialized physical attributes. Its lack of traditional evolution might indicate that its current state, that of a perfect shapeshifter, is its ultimate evolutionary achievement, a state of universal biological potential rather than a singular powerful manifestation. It's a living canvas, reflecting the forms of all other Pokemon, and in doing so, showcases a different kind of evolutionary mastery, one of pure, unadulterated genetic fluidity. The phenomenon of regional variants, such as Alolan Vulpix or Galarian Zigzagoon, further complicates our understanding of evolution. These Pokemon are essentially the same species as their counterparts in other regions, but due to millennia of isolation and adaptation to different environments, they have developed distinct physical characteristics, typings, and even evolutionary lines. This clearly demonstrates the powerful role of natural selection and geographical isolation in shaping a Pokemon's development over vast stretches of time. It's a direct observable example of adaptive radiation where a common ancestor diversifies into multiple distinct forms to exploit different ecological niches. The existence of regional variants highlights that evolution isn't a singular fixed path, but a branching dynamic process influenced by countless environmental pressures. It shows that even within a single species, the potential for diverse evolutionary outcomes is immense, depending on the specific challenges and opportunities presented by their habitat. This suggests that the evolutionary journey is a continuous dialogue between a Pokemon's inherent genetic potential and the external forces of its world, constantly shaping and reshaping its destiny across generations. Consider the fossil Pokemon like Aerodactyl or Omanite, which are revived from ancient samples. Their existence provides a direct window into the evolutionary history of the Pokemon world, showing us forms that thrived in bygone eras. The very act of reviving them from fossils implies that evolution isn't always a forward moving process. Sometimes, ancient forms can be brought back to life, coexisting with their modern descendants. This raises intriguing questions about the stability of genetic information over geological timescales and the potential for evolution or the reemergence of ancestral traits. It showcases the incredible persistence of genetic material and the possibility of reintroducing extinct lineages into the modern ecosystem, offering a unique perspective on the cyclical nature of life and evolution within the Pokemon universe. The fact that these ancient Pokemon can still thrive and even evolve, in the case of Omanite and Omastar, further emphasizes that their evolutionary path, though interrupted, is still viable, demonstrating the timelessness of their genetic blueprint. The concept of convergent evolution can also be observed where unrelated Pokemon species develop similar traits or adaptations because they occupy similar ecological niches or face similar environmental pressures. For example, many Pokemon capable of flight, despite vastly different ancestries, develop wings. While not a direct evolutionary mystery of a single species, it's a broader evolutionary pattern that demonstrates how similar solutions to common environmental challenges can arise independently across different lineages. This overarching pattern suggests a limited set of optimal solutions for various biological functions, and that evolution, while diverse, can often converge on similar forms when faced with similar selective pressures. It speaks to the underlying principles of efficiency and adaptation that govern the development of life, even in a world as fantastical as Pokemon. Moving to the more subtle mysteries, there are Pokemon whose evolution is triggered by seemingly mundane actions, like walking a certain number of steps, as seen with some baby Pokemon, like Riolu evolving into Lucario. This suggests that certain evolutionary pathways are not just about reaching a specific level or using an item, but about experiencing the world and accumulating life experiences. The act of walking, often associated with journeying and growth, becomes a symbolic catalyst for biological change. It implies a deeper connection between physical activity, mental development, and evolutionary potential, where the development of a Pokemon's spirit and its physical form are intrinsically linked. This type of evolution speaks to the holistic development of a Pokemon, where growth isn't just about raw power, but about the journey and the lessons learned along the way, translating into a physical transformation. Then we have Pokemon like Shedinja, which appears only when Nincada evolves into Ninjask, leaving behind its old shell. Shedinja is a truly unique case, as it's not a pre-evolution nor a post-evolution, but a byproduct of an evolution. It's an empty husk imbued with a spirit, possessing very specific and unusual abilities. This raises profound questions about the nature of consciousness, life force, and what constitutes a Pokemon. Is Shedinja a separate entity, a fragmented soul, or an echo of Nincada's past self? Its existence challenges the very definition of individual identity within the evolutionary process, suggesting that evolution can sometimes create not just a new form, but also an entirely new, distinct being from the remnants of the old. It's a ghost of evolution past, a tangible manifestation of what was left behind, yet vibrant with its own mysterious life. The mystery deepens with Pokemon that evolve only through trade, like Kadabra into Alakazam. This mechanism implies that the act of bonding with a new trainer, or perhaps the energetic exchange that occurs during the trade process itself, is the catalyst for this specific evolutionary leap. It's not about an item, or a level, or a stone, but about a social interaction, a breaking of old bonds, and the forging of new ones. This suggests that for some Pokemon, psychological and social connections play a profound role in their biological development. The evolution is tied to a relocation, a change of environment, and companionship, hinting that a shift in their emotional and social landscape is what unlocked their latent potential. It's a testament to the idea that the bonds formed between Pokemon and humans can be so powerful as to literally alter their physical form, a beautiful intertwining of companionship and biological destiny. Consider also the phenomenon of gender-specific evolutions, where certain Pokemon evolve into different forms depending on their gender, such as Kirlia evolving into Gardevoir, male or female, or Galad, male only. This highlights the intricate role of sexual selection and gender dimorphism in shaping evolutionary pathways. It demonstrates that within a single species, different genetic programs can be activated based on gender, leading to distinct physical forms and abilities that are optimized for their respective roles within the species or ecosystem. This natural biological variation adds another layer of complexity to the evolutionary tree, showing how a single evolutionary branch can diverge based on intrinsic biological factors. It underscores the importance of reproductive strategies and gender specific roles in driving the diversification of species, leading to unique and specialized forms within the same lineage. Then there are Pokemon like Eevee, often called the evolution Pokemon, capable of evolving into 8 different forms, each with a unique type. This incredible adaptability and multiple evolutionary paths make Eevee a cornerstone of evolutionary study within the Pokemon world. Its genetic makeup is said to be unstable, allowing it to easily adapt to various environmental stimuli, such as elemental stones, friendship levels, or even specific locations and times of day. Eevee represents the ultimate embodiment of evolutionary potential, a blank slate ready to be shaped by its surroundings and experiences. The sheer diversity of its evolutionary forms suggests a deep-seated genetic plasticity, allowing it to tap into various elemental energies and transform itself into optimized forms for different ecological niches. It's a living testament to the idea that evolution is not a predetermined journey, but a dynamic response to the forces that shape a Pokemon's life, a canvas waiting for the brushstrokes of environment and companionship. The concept of time-based evolutions, where Pokemon like Espeon or Umbreon evolve only during specific times of day, adds another fascinating dimension. This suggests that circadian rhythms, or perhaps the subtle, energetic shifts associated with day and night, play a crucial role in triggering certain evolutionary processes. It hints at a deep connection between a Pokemon's biology and the cosmic clock, where their internal mechanisms are attuned to the natural cycles of their world. These evolutions imply that the timing of an event can be as important as the event itself, and that the subtle influences of light, darkness, and the passage of time can be powerful catalysts for profound biological change. It's a gentle reminder that the universe itself, with its rhythmic pulses of light and shadow, can be a silent partner in a Pokemon's evolutionary journey, guiding its transformation through the subtle dance of day and night. Finally, we consider the pseudo-legendary Pokemon like Dragonite or Tyranitar. While not legendary in the traditional sense, they possess exceptionally high base stats and often complex 3-stage evolutionary lines. Their rarity and power often rival that of true legendary Pokemon, suggesting that some evolutionary lines, through a combination of favorable genetic traits and rigorous evolutionary pressures, can ascend to near mythical status through natural progression. These Pokemon represent the pinnacle of conventional evolution, showcasing what can be achieved through successive stages of growth and adaptation. Their journey from humble beginnings to ultimate power through multiple evolutionary stages is a testament to the potential for incredible strength and resilience that lies within the natural evolutionary process, demonstrating that even without divine intervention, some Pokemon can reach truly awe-inspiring levels of power through sheer biological development and the relentless march of evolution. They are the champions of natural selection, proving that the path of continuous transformation can lead to astonishing heights of strength and majesty, a quiet testament to the enduring power of life and adaptation. Consider the curious case of Pokemon that evolve through trade, like Kadabra into Alakazam or Haunter into Gengar. This mechanic introduces a social element into the evolutionary process, implying that the act of forming a new bond, or perhaps the energetic exchange that occurs during a trade, is the catalyst for further development. It's as if the Pokemon, having spent time with one trainer, needs the fresh perspective or the new energy of another trainer to unlock its next stage of potential. This speaks to the idea that companionship and interaction are not merely external factors, but can directly influence a Pokemon's biological progression. The separation from a familiar environment and the forging of a new connection seem to provide a unique evolutionary stimulus, suggesting a profound interplay between social dynamics and biological change. It's a gentle whisper that even the most powerful transformations can be sparked by the simple act of sharing and building new relationships, emphasizing the interconnectedness of all living things within the Pokemon world. The very act of passing from one hand to another, from one journey to another, becomes a crucial step in their personal growth, weaving a narrative where even farewells can be preludes to something greater. Then there are Pokemon that evolve through high friendship, such as Golbat into Crobat or Chansey into Blissey. This category further emphasizes the emotional and relational aspects of evolution. It suggests that a Pokemon's emotional well-being, its trust and affection for its trainer, can directly trigger significant biological changes. This isn't about battling prowess or specific items, but about the quality of the bond shared. It implies that a nurturing and loving environment can foster growth that goes beyond physical training, unlocking latent potential within the Pokemon. This form of evolution is a beautiful metaphor for how positive relationships can help individuals flourish and reach their full potential in any sphere of life. It speaks to the deep emotional intelligence some Pokemon possess and how their connection to their trainers can literally reshape their being, turning loyalty and love into a tangible force that drives their transformation. It's a quiet testament to the enduring power of kindness and understanding, showing how a strong, affectionate bond can literally change a creature from its very core, guiding it towards a more complete and powerful form. These evolutions paint a picture of a world where emotional bonds are not just pleasantries, but fundamental forces of nature. The enigma deepens with location-based evolutions, where Pokemon like Magneton into Magnezone or Nosepass into Probopass only evolve when leveled up in specific areas. These locations are often described as having unique magnetic fields or peculiar energies. This suggests that the ambient environment itself, beyond just temperature or food sources, can interact with a Pokemon's physiology to instigate evolution. It implies that certain geological formations or energy ley lines within the Pokemon world hold unique properties that resonate with specific Pokemon species, triggering their advanced forms. This adds a layer of geological and environmental mysticism to the evolutionary process, hinting at unseen forces at play within the world, subtle energies that influence life in profound ways. It's a reminder that the very ground beneath their feet, the unseen forces of the planet, can be key players in their development, turning specific places into natural cradles of transformation. These locations are not just backdrops, but active participants in the Pokemon's journey, imbuing them with the necessary energies for their next stage of life. The split evolutions, where a Pokemon can evolve into one of several different forms based on certain conditions, like Eevee or even Tyrogue, offer a fascinating glimpse into divergent evolutionary pathways. Tyrogue, for instance, evolves into Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, or Hitmontop based on its attack and defense stats. This highlights how subtle differences in a Pokemon's individual attributes, nurtured through training or inherent genetic predispositions, can lead to entirely different evolutionary outcomes, each optimized for a distinct combat style. It's a beautiful illustration of how slight variations can lead to significant divergences over time, maximizing a species' adaptability by allowing it to fill multiple ecological niches. These split evolutions demonstrate that the path of growth is not always linear, but can branch out in myriad directions, each leading to a specialized and powerful form. It speaks to the incredible flexibility of Pokemon biology, allowing for multiple successful strategies for survival and thriving within their diverse world. Moving into more recent discoveries, we encounter Mega Evolution. This temporary, powerful transformation, triggered by a trainer's key set and a Pokemon's specific Megastone, is not a permanent evolutionary stage. Instead, it's a burst of latent power, a temporary unlocking of a Pokemon's full potential, often accompanied by dramatic physical changes and stat boosts. This concept introduces the idea that a Pokemon's true power might not always be accessible, but can be awakened through an intense bond with its trainer and a specialized item. It hints at a deeper, perhaps more ancient, form of power that lies dormant within certain Pokemon, waiting for the right moment and the right connection to be unleashed. Mega Evolution suggests that trainers play a more active role in unlocking extreme power, going beyond mere guidance to directly influencing a Pokemon's form and abilities, albeit temporarily. It's a dramatic display of the synergy between trainer and Pokemon, a testament to the profound potential that can be unlocked when their spirits align in perfect harmony. Then there's primal reversion, observed in legendary Pokemon like Groudon and Kyogre. This is even more ancient than Mega Evolution, representing a return to a more primitive, powerful state. It's not triggered by a trainer or an item, but by the Pokemon themselves, often in response to intense environmental conditions or deep-seated instinct. This concept suggests that some legendary Pokemon possess an innate ability to revert to their ancient, most powerful forms, perhaps drawing upon primordial energies of the planet. It speaks to a deep connection these legendary beings have with the very fabric of the world, capable of reshaping themselves in response to fundamental forces. Primal reversion underscores the idea that power can be both evolved and re-evolved, tapping into ancestral forms that were perhaps more suited to a world far different from the one we know today. It's a fascinating glimpse into the deep history of the Pokemon world, hinting at epochs where these ancient forms walked the earth, shaping the very land and seas with their immense power. The phenomenon of Gigantamax, introduced in the Galar region, presents another temporary transformation distinct from Mega Evolution. While both involve a massive increase in size and power, Gigantamax forms are unique to specific Pokemon species and grant them access to powerful Gmax moves. This phenomenon is tied to specific energy spots within the Galar region, suggesting that the very land itself possesses unique properties that can temporarily empower Pokemon to colossal sizes. It's a localized marvel, a display of how regional energies can interact with Pokemon physiology to create temporary but awe inspiring transformations. Gigantamax points to a world where certain geographical locations are imbued with specific energies that can trigger peculiar biological responses in Pokemon, making them temporary giants. It speaks to the unique environmental factors that shape different regions and the extraordinary ways in which Pokemon adapt and respond to these subtle yet profound influences. The sheer scale of these transformations is a testament to the latent power within Pokemon, waiting for the right environmental trigger. The concept of regional forms, such as Alolan Vulpix or Galarian Meowth, though not an evolutionary process in itself, deeply influences evolutionary outcomes. These forms arise when a species adapts to a new environment, leading to changes in appearance and typing, and sometimes even their evolutionary lines. For instance, an Alolan Vulpix evolves into an Alolan Ninetales, which is Ice and Fairy type, distinct from its Kanto Fire type counterpart. This highlights the powerful role of environmental adaptation in shaping a species over long periods, demonstrating how geographical isolation and different ecological pressures can lead to entirely new variations of familiar Pokemon. It's a beautiful example of convergent and divergent evolution occurring within a single species, showcasing the incredible flexibility of Pokemon genetics. These regional forms serve as a natural laboratory, illustrating how even subtle changes in habitat can lead to dramatic shifts in a Pokemon's biology, its abilities, and its eventual evolutionary path. It reminds us that evolution is a continuous, ongoing process, constantly responding to the subtle pressures of the natural world. Delving deeper into the strange, we find Pokemon like Ditto, which possesses the unique ability to transform into any other Pokemon. While not an evolution in the traditional sense, Ditto's existence raises profound questions about genetic plasticity and the underlying biological blueprints of all Pokemon. Could Ditto represent a primordial form, a foundational genetic template from which all other Pokemon evolved? Its ability to mimic suggests a deep understanding, or perhaps even a connection, to the very essence of Pokemon biology. It's a living mystery, a creature that defies conventional evolutionary norms, instead embodying the very concept of biological malleability. Its very existence challenges our notions of fixed species and evolution, suggesting a more fluid, interconnected web of life where fundamental forms can be endlessly reconfigured. Consider the notion of fossil Pokemon, like Aerodactyl or Omanite. These Pokemon are revived from ancient fossils, essentially bringing extinct species back to life. Their existence confirms that evolution is not always forward moving. Some lines can become extinct, only to be resurrected under specific conditions. This provides a tangible link to the deep past of the Pokemon world, showing us creatures that once roamed vast epochs ago. It also highlights the technological prowess within the Pokemon world, capable of essentially undoing extinction, at least for some species. The very act of reviving a fossil Pokemon is a form of artificial evolution, or rather re-evolution, demonstrating that the past can be brought into the present, offering clues to ancient evolutionary pathways and the history of life on the planet. The concept of baby Pokemon, like Pichu or Cleffa, introduces a pre evolutionary stage, often requiring maximum friendship to evolve into their next form. This emphasizes the importance of early development and nurturing in a Pokemon's life. These forms are typically weaker and more vulnerable, but their existence highlights a developmental period where foundational bonds are formed and their potential is carefully cultivated. It adds a layer of realism to the life cycle, showing a stage of dependency and growth that precedes true evolutionary power. These tiny creatures are not just weaker versions, they are a testament to the careful, nurturing process that underpins much of Pokemon evolution, showing that even the smallest beginnings can lead to mighty transformations. Finally, we touch upon the legendary and mythical Pokemon themselves. Many of these do not evolve at all, or their evolution is more akin to a transformation or a change of form rather than a linear progression. Arceus, the supposed creator of the Pokemon world, can change its type based on the plates it holds, directly altering its fundamental nature. This suggests a level of power and control over their own biology that transcends conventional evolution. Those beings represent the apex of existence, often possessing inherent abilities that allow them to manipulate reality, time, or space, rather than evolving through natural selection. Their forms are often fixed, representing peak states of being, demonstrating that some forms of power are not attained through gradual change, but are inherent and fundamental to their very existence. They stand as eternal figures, embodying forces of nature, their forms perfected from their very inception, a stark contrast to the continuous journey of transformation that defines so many other Pokemon. These entities challenge the very definition of evolution, suggesting that for some, the journey is not about becoming, but simply being. The peculiar case of Pokemon like Rotom, which can inhabit various appliances, presents another fascinating deviation from typical evolutionary paths. Rotom doesn't evolve in the traditional sense, but rather alters its form and type depending on the object it possesses. This isn't a permanent change in its genetic structure, but a dynamic interaction with its environment, showcasing a symbiotic relationship where both Rotom and the appliance gain new functionalities. It demonstrates that evolution isn't always about a fixed biological progression, but can also involve a fluid adaptation to external circumstances, almost like a technological mimicry. The forms it takes, from a fan to a washing machine, are temporary states, yet each grants it distinct abilities and elemental properties, illustrating a highly specialized form of environmental adaptation. It's a reminder that some Pokemon evolve not by changing their own bodies, but by skillfully manipulating their surroundings, blurring the lines between organism and object. Similarly, there are Pokemon like Mimikyu, whose very existence is a testament to the power of mimicry and emotional connection. Mimikyu, a ghost/fairy type, disguises itself as a Pikachu, driven by a desire for friendship and a fear of sunlight, which it finds debilitating. Its disguise ability allows it to withstand one attack without taking damage, the disguise itself acting as a shield before it crumbles. This isn't an evolutionary stage, but a profound behavioral adaptation. It's a Pokemon that has evolved, not through physical alteration, but through a complex psychological response to its environment and its yearning for companionship. Its form is a constructed one, a costume, yet it is so integral to its survival and identity that it functions almost as an evolutionary trait. It speaks to the emotional depth within the Pokemon world, where a creature's desire for connection can manifest in such a profound and unique way, shaping its very appearance and defense mechanisms. Then we have Pyukumuku, a water-type Pokemon found in Alola, which is known for its ability to eject its internal organs as a defense mechanism. This isn't an evolutionary stage, but a highly specialized survival strategy. It highlights how evolution can lead to incredibly bizarre and specific physical traits that serve a singular purpose. Its body is designed for this one dramatic act, rather than a progression through different forms. It's a testament to the diversity of evolutionary solutions, where a creature can become exceptionally good at one particular defense, rather than evolving into a more powerful or versatile form. It's a creature that embodies the phrase, form follows function, in a very direct and somewhat unsettling way, showcasing the extremes to which natural selection can drive biological adaptation. The concept of regional forms further complicates the evolutionary narrative, offering alternative evolutionary pathways based on geographical location. Alolan Vulpix, for instance, is an ice type, whereas its Kanto counterpart is fire type. This isn't just a cosmetic difference, it represents a fundamental change in type, abilities, and even evolutionary method as Alolan Vulpix evolves into Alolan Ninetales, using an ice stone. This demonstrates that environmental pressures can steer the evolution of a species in entirely different directions, leading to convergent evolution where similar species adapt to differing biomes by developing distinct traits. It's a powerful illustration of adaptive radiation, where a common ancestor can give rise to diverse forms tailored to specific ecological niches. These regional variations are not lesser forms, but equally valid evolutionary outcomes, each perfectly adapted to its unique habitat. It suggests that a Pokemon's evolutionary potential isn't fixed, but can be unlocked in myriad ways depending on the specific challenges and resources of its environment, offering a glimpse into what might happen if a species were to be isolated and specialize over vast periods of time. Galarian Farfetch'd, which evolves into Sirfetch'd only after landing 3 critical hits in a single battle, introduces an almost mythical element to evolution, tying it to prowess and skill rather than mere experience or external items. This isn't a gradual biological change, but a sudden, almost spiritual transformation, triggered by an extraordinary display of combat ability. It elevates the act of battling to a form of evolutionary catalyst, suggesting that intense focus and determination can unlock a higher state of being. The leek it carries isn't just a weapon, it's an extension of its fighting spirit, and its evolution is intrinsically linked to its mastery of this iconic item. This type of evolution speaks to a deeper connection between a Pokemon's will and its physical manifestation, a concept less about genetic mutation and more about achieving a state of martial perfection. It's a truly unique criterion, highlighting that evolution in the Pokemon world isn't solely about biological processes, but can also be influenced by an individual's extraordinary achievements and dedication. The existence of mega evolution, while temporary, offers a glimpse into dormant evolutionary potential. Triggered by a megastone and a trainer's powerful bond, a Pokemon temporarily transforms into a more powerful, often visually distinct form. This isn't a permanent evolutionary step, but a temporary unlocking of latent power, a resurgence of ancestral or potential traits under specific conditions. It suggests that within a Pokemon's genetic code lie blueprints for even more potent forms, forms that are usually inaccessible without external catalysts and a deep emotional connection. It's almost as if evolution has a burst mode, a state of heightened capability that can be momentarily achieved. This mechanic emphasizes the profound impact of the trainer Pokemon bond, suggesting that this connection is not just emotional, but can directly influence a Pokemon's physical capabilities, elevating it beyond its normal limits. It's a powerful demonstration of how external factors, and especially the unique partnership with a human, can profoundly influence and even temporarily redefine a Pokemon's evolutionary trajectory. Conversely, the phenomenon of Gigantamaxing and Dynamaxing in the Galar region represents a different kind of temporary transformation. While Dynamaxing simply enlarges a Pokemon and boosts its power, Gigantamaxing offers a unique colossal form with distinct Gmax moves. Unlike Mega Evolution, this isn't tied to a specific stone or a bond, but to the natural energy emanating from specific power spots in the Galar region. It's an environmental phenomenon that temporarily supercharges a Pokemon, making it immense and powerful, but without altering its fundamental evolutionary stage. This highlights the influence of environmental energy on Pokemon physiology, showing how geological forces can directly impact a Pokemon's capabilities in a dramatic, albeit transient, way. It's a testament to the dynamic relationship between Pokemon and the natural world, where raw energy from the earth itself can trigger temporary yet awe-inspiring transformations. This type of change isn't about evolving to a new stage, but about momentarily tapping into the immense power of the planet, demonstrating a different facet of how Pokemon interact with and are influenced by their surroundings. The curious case of Shedinja evolving from Nincada is one of the most enigmatic evolutionary processes. When Nincada evolves into Ninjask at level 20, if the player has an empty slot in their party and a Pokeball in their bag, the discarded shell becomes Shedinja. This isn't a split evolution in the typical sense, but a simultaneous emergence of two distinct Pokemon from one. It's a biological anomaly, where the empty husk of an evolving creature gains sentience and its own unique typing, Bug/Ghost, and ability, Wonder Guard. This suggests a form of spiritual or ethereal evolution, where the essence of the old form persists alongside the new, almost like a ghost in the machine. It challenges our understanding of what constitutes an individual Pokemon, as one organism effectively spawns two distinct entities. It speaks to a mystical aspect of evolution, where material remains can become imbued with life, showcasing a truly unique and somewhat eerie form of metamorphosis. Another fascinating aspect is the existence of unevolving or de-evolving phenomena, though not in the traditional sense of reversing an evolutionary stage. The rare item, The rare candy allows a Pokemon to gain a level without battling. While not directly linked to evolution, its existence implies a way to bypass the natural process of gaining experience through combat, effectively fast tracking a Pokemon's growth. This isn't de-evolution, but it subtly suggests that evolutionary progression can be manipulated and accelerated almost artificially. It hints at the idea that the journey of growth can be influenced by external, non biological means, showing a human engineered shortcut to power that bypasses the natural grind of training. The phenomenon of cross generation evolutions, where a Pokemon from an earlier generation gains a new evolution in a later game, like Tangela evolving into Tangrowth with the move Ancient Power, illustrates that evolutionary lines are not always closed. These additions suggest that evolutionary potential can remain dormant for vast stretches of time, only to be unlocked either through new discoveries within the Pokemon world or through environmental changes that favor the emergence of these new forms. It implies that the evolutionary tree is not static, but continuously branching and expanding, with older species finding new pathways for development. These evolutions often require specific items, moves, or conditions, acting as catalysts for a previously unattainable transformation. It's a reminder that the Pokemon world is always evolving, and what was once considered a final form might simply be a temporary plateau before further growth. The intricate dance of type evolution, where a Pokemon's type can change entirely upon evolution, reveals another layer of complexity. Take, for example, the evolutionary line of Snorunt. While it can evolve into Froslass, Ice/Ghost, using a Dawnstone if female, it can also evolve into Glully, Ice, simply by leveling up. This divergence highlights how a single species can inherit a dual evolutionary potential, influenced by gender and specific items. The change from a pure Ice type to an Ice/Ghost type is a dramatic shift, suggesting that evolution can sometimes tap into entirely different elemental affinities and biological structures, not just enhancing existing ones. It showcases how deeply interconnected biology, environment, and even mystical elements are in shaping a Pokemon's ultimate form and capabilities. Even the simple act of level up evolution, the most common form, holds subtle mysteries. Why do certain Pokemon evolve at specific levels? Is it purely a matter of accumulated experience, or are there underlying biological triggers that align with these numerical milestones? Perhaps these levels represent critical developmental stages, points where a Pokemon's internal structure or energy reaches a threshold, triggering a metamorphosis. It's a simplification for gameplay, but in lore, it suggests that evolution is a carefully timed biological event where the creature is ready to undergo a significant change when it reaches a certain maturity or strength. It's not just about getting stronger, but about reaching a point of readiness for a profound transformation, a kind of biological clock that dictates when a species is ripe for its next stage of development. The friendship evolution mechanic, where Pokemon like Chansey or Golbat evolve when they have a high level of affection and trust for their trainer, speaks to the emotional and social dimensions of evolution. This isn't about raw power or external items, but about the profound bond forged between two beings. It suggests that emotional well-being and a nurturing environment can be powerful evolutionary catalysts, enabling a Pokemon to reach its full potential, not just physically, but emotionally. It emphasizes that evolution can be a deeply personal journey, influenced by the warmth and care it receives. This form of evolution highlights the philosophical idea that love and connection can literally transform a being, unlocking inner strengths and capabilities that mere physical training might not achieve. The subtle differences between day/night evolutions, such as Eevee into Espeon during the day and Umbreon during the night, underscore the profound influence of celestial bodies and circadian rhythms on Pokemon physiology. The specific timing suggests that exposure to certain light spectrums or cosmic energies can trigger divergent evolutionary pathways, leading to dramatically different forms and types. It's a testament to how deeply intertwined Pokemon are with the natural cycles of their world, where even the sun and moon can dictate their destiny. This form of evolution is a constant reminder that the environment shapes life in ways both grand and almost imperceptible, influencing not just survival, but also the very path of transformation. The trade evolution mechanic, which requires a Pokemon to be exchanged between trainers to evolve, adds a social and communal aspect to the evolutionary process. Pokemon like Kadabra or Machoke only evolve when they experience this unique separation and reunion. It's almost as if the act of being passed from one trainer to another, experiencing a brief moment of uncertainty and then adapting to a new environment, triggers a profound change within them. It suggests that interaction with other individuals and experiencing new environments and bonds can be a critical catalyst for growth, emphasizing the social dimension of evolution. This process hints that for some species, broad social interaction and exposure to diverse experiences are as crucial as any biological trigger, suggesting that communal interaction itself can be an evolutionary force, shaping a creature's destiny through connection and exchange. The very concept of a branching evolution, where a Pokemon can evolve into one of several different forms based on varying conditions, like the aforementioned Eevee, is a powerful testament to the inherent flexibility and adaptability of Pokemon biology. Eevee, with its numerous evolutions, is the ultimate example, showcasing how a single genetic blueprint can unlock vastly different elemental affinities and physical forms, depending on exposure to evolutionary stones, friendship, time of day, or even specific locations. This isn't just about adapting to an environment, it's about having the innate capacity to specialize in multiple dramatically different ways. It speaks to a profound genetic plasticity, where a single species holds the potential for an entire spectrum of ecological roles, making it one of the most intriguing and versatile Pokemon in existence. Each evolution represents a successful, albeit divergent, evolutionary strategy, highlighting the boundless possibilities within a single genetic lineage, showing that evolution is not a single path, but a sprawling, interconnected web of potential. The seemingly simple act of leveling up a Pokemon, often through battling and gaining experience, is itself a fundamental evolutionary trigger for the vast majority of species. While it might appear as a straightforward numerical progression, the underlying lore implies that this accumulation of experience isn't merely about numerical strength, but rather a deeper internal maturation. As a Pokemon battles, learns new moves, and overcomes challenges, it's not just growing stronger, it's refining its instincts, developing its cognitive abilities, and solidifying its biological form in preparation for its next stage. Each level gained could be seen as a small step in a long developmental journey where the Pokemon's internal structure and energy patterns gradually shift, reaching a critical mass that allows for the dramatic transformation we observe. This steady growth suggests that for many Pokemon, evolution is an intrinsic, programmed development, albeit one that is accelerated and guided by active participation in their world. It's a gentle reminder that consistent effort and learning over time lead to profound and transformative changes, echoing natural processes of maturation in countless living things. Then there are the more subtle, yet equally profound, friendship evolutions, where a Pokemon evolves only after it has developed a deep bond of trust and affection with its trainer. Pokemon like Golbat evolving into Crobat or Chansey into Blissey exemplify this unique pathway. This isn't about power or battle prowess, but rather about emotional connection and mutual understanding. The lore suggests that a Pokemon, when it feels truly loved and secure, might undergo an internal shift that unlocks its full potential, transforming into a more powerful and often more benevolent form. This kind of evolution highlights the profound impact of interspecies relationships, suggesting that emotional well being and a strong social bond can be as powerful an evolutionary catalyst as any stone or battle. It posits that for some species, the emotional landscape they inhabit, particularly their relationship with their primary caregiver, is crucial to their development, suggesting that love and trust are not just abstract concepts, but tangible forces that can reshape biological reality. This emphasizes a gentler, more nurturing aspect of evolution, where kindness and connection are the keys to unlocking new forms and abilities, a stark contrast to the often harsh realities of natural selection. Beyond these well-known triggers, some Pokemon evolve under highly specific and often peculiar conditions, which further deepen the mystery of their biology. Consider the case of Malamar, which evolves from Inkay only when the Nintendo 3DS console is held upside down during its level up. This seemingly arbitrary condition is often explained in-game as reflecting Malamar's unique ability to hypnotize and invert the minds of others, making the act of physically inverting the console a metaphorical representation of this power. It hints at a fascinating connection between the Pokemon's innate abilities and the very act of its transformation, suggesting that evolution isn't always a purely biological process, but can sometimes be influenced by almost ritualistic or symbolic actions that resonate with the Pokemon's core nature. This peculiar evolution is a playful nod to the interactive nature of the Pokemon world, blurring the lines between game mechanics and in-universe lore, implying that even the player's physical interaction can influence the world within. Similarly, Pokemon like Tyrogue, which can evolve into Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, or Hitmontop based on its attack and defense stats, provide a fascinating insight into specialized development. If its attack is higher than its defense, it becomes Hitmonlee, focusing on powerful kicks. If its defense is higher, it becomes Hitmonchan, specializing in punching. and if its attack and defense are equal, it becomes Hitmontop, mastering spinning techniques. This form of evolution highlights how specific physical attributes, honed through training and natural aptitude, can dictate a Pokemon's specialized evolutionary path, leading to divergent forms optimized for distinct combat styles. It's a clear example of environmental pressures and individual aptitudes shaping destiny within a single species, much like different martial artists might specialize based on their inherent physical strengths. This suggests that even within a single lineage, subtle differences in physical parameters can lead to wildly different final forms, each perfectly adapted to a specific niche or fighting style, a testament to the fine tuning of evolutionary pathways. Then there's the intriguing case of Shedinja, which appears mysteriously in the player's party when a Nincada evolves into Ninjask, provided there is an empty slot in the party and a spare Pokeball in the bag. Shedinja is said to be the discarded shell of Nincada, animated by an unknown force, often attributed to a spirit or residual life energy. This shedding evolution is unique because it results in two distinct Pokemon from one evolutionary event, with Shedinja possessing a unique Wonder Guard ability that makes it immune to all but super effective attacks. This isn't merely an evolution, it's a division of being, a physical manifestation of a spiritual separation where the physical husk takes on a life of its own. It raises profound questions about what constitutes life and consciousness in the Pokemon world, suggesting that even inanimate remnants can be imbued with spirit under the right conditions. This phenomenon challenges our understanding of biological continuity, illustrating that evolution can sometimes lead to unexpected, even metaphysical outcomes, where the discarded becomes a being in itself, imbued with a distinct and powerful identity. The concept of location-based evolution further expands the intricate tapestry of Pokemon development. Certain Pokemon, like Magneton evolving into Magnezone or Nosepass into Probopass, require being leveled up in specific magnetic fields, often found in certain caves or mountains within the Pokemon world. These locations are depicted as having unique electromagnetic properties that resonate with the Pokemon's internal biology, triggering their transformation. This ties evolution directly to the geological and environmental characteristics of the world, suggesting that the very Earth itself can influence and shape life. It implies that these Pokemon have adapted to harness specific environmental energies, integrating them into their evolutionary process. This showcases how deeply intertwined certain species are with their immediate environment, relying on specific geological phenomena to reach their full potential. It's a nuanced form of adaptation where a Pokemon's very physical transformation is dependent on the unique energetic signature of a particular place, underscoring the deep connection between organism and habitat. Even more subtly, some evolutions are triggered by learning a specific move. For example, Porygon-2 evolves into Porygon-Z when traded while holding a dubious disc, but it's often implied that Porygon-Z's erratic behavior and glitch-like appearance are due to a flawed upgrade, a dubious program that it learned or absorbed. While the item is the direct trigger, the lore often suggests the move itself, or the data it represents, is the true catalyst for the change in its functions and form. Another example is Bonsly evolving into Sudowoodo after learning Mimic, or Mime Jr. evolving into Mr. Mime after learning Mimic. This implies that for these Pokemon, the acquisition of a specific skill or behavior is not just an additive process, but a transformative one, fundamentally altering their physiology and identity. It suggests that for some species, the mastery of a particular ability can unlock their next evolutionary stage, showing how learned behavior can directly influence physical form, a fascinating interplay between nature and nurture. This highlights that evolution isn't always about brute strength or elemental power, but can also be about the development of specific, intricate skills and the knowledge they embody. The introduction of regional forms and regional evolutions, such as those found in the Alola, Galar, and Hisui regions, further complicates and enriches the understanding of evolution. These forms show how species, when isolated in different environments for extended periods, can adapt and evolve into distinct variations of their original counterparts, often with different typings, abilities, and even evolutionary lines. For instance, an Alolan Vulpix adapted to snowy mountains is an ice type, while its Kanto counterpart is fire type. This is a direct parallel to allopatric speciation in real-world biology, where geographical isolation leads to the divergence of populations into new species or subspecies. It demonstrates that evolution is not a fixed, singular path, but a dynamic and responsive process, constantly adapting to environmental pressures over vast stretches of time. These regional variations are a powerful visual representation of the forces of natural selection at play, showing how the same genetic blueprint can lead to dramatically different outcomes when subjected to distinct ecological niches. It's a living archive of evolutionary history, showcasing how environments sculpt life in myriad ways, emphasizing the profound impact of geography on biological diversity. Consider the intriguing case of item-based evolutions that go beyond just stones. Pokemon like Sneasel evolving into Weevil when leveled up at night while holding a Razor Claw, or Gligar evolving into Gliscor when leveled up at night while holding a Razor Fang. These specific items are not just catalysts, they are often described as having properties that enhance or trigger specific biological processes within the Pokemon. The Razor Claw might sharpen Sneasel's predatory instincts and physical attributes, while the Razor Fang could enhance Gligar's venomous capabilities and aerial maneuverability. The combination of the item and the time of day suggests a very precise set of environmental and biochemical conditions are required for these transformations, implying a highly specialized evolutionary pathway. It's almost as if these items act as a biological key, unlocking dormant genetic potential that only manifests under very specific circumstances. This highlights a level of evolutionary precision where not just any external factor will do, but rather a very particular combination of influences is needed to guide the Pokemon to its next stage, showcasing the intricate dance between genetics, environment, and specific catalysts. The phenomenon of gender-specific evolutions adds another layer of complexity. For example, Combay evolves into Vespiquen only if it is female, while Kirlia can evolve into Gardevoir regardless of gender, but only a male Kirlia can evolve into Galad when exposed to a Dawnstone. This reveals how sex can play a crucial role in determining evolutionary outcomes, leading to distinct forms and roles within a species. It mirrors the sexual dimorphism observed in many real world species, where males and females develop different physical characteristics and behaviors, often driven by reproductive strategies or differing ecological roles. For Pokemon, this means that even within the same species, the evolutionary journey can diverge dramatically based on biological sex, leading to specialized forms that might fulfill different functions within their social structure or ecosystem. This underscores that evolution is not just about adapting to the environment, but also about the intricate internal biological factors that shape an individual's developmental path, creating diversity even within a single lineage based on fundamental biological distinctions. Then there are Pokemon that evolve through unique interactions or specific conditions that defy easy categorization. For instance, the legendary Pokemon Cosmoem evolves into Solgaleo or Lunala, depending on the game version it is in, Sun or Moon, respectively. This is a meta level evolution, directly tying the in game world to the broader lore of the cosmic forces that these Pokemon represent. It's a profound connection between the game's narrative and the Pokemon's intrinsic nature, suggesting that these creatures are so deeply linked to the fundamental forces of the universe that even the chosen reality of the game itself can dictate their ultimate form. This blurs the lines between player choice and in universe destiny, implying that the very fabric of the world impacts these cosmic beings. It hints at a deeper, almost philosophical understanding of evolution, where the reality in which a being exists can directly influence its physical manifestation, making these evolutions deeply symbolic of universal dualities. Another fascinating example is the evolution of Milcery into Alchemy, which depends on a combination of factors: the type of sweet item it is holding, the direction the player spins their character, and the time of day. This creates dozens of different alchemy forms, each with unique colors and decorations. This incredibly specific and multifaceted evolutionary trigger suggests a high degree of sensitivity to environmental variables and a playful, almost aesthetic component to evolution. It's not just about survival, it's about expression and diversity in a highly customized way. The act of spinning, the specific item, and the time of day collectively influence the resulting form, implying a complex interaction between the Pokemon's internal biology and external, almost ritualistic, influences. This showcases an evolutionary path that is less about rigid biological programming and more about a dynamic, almost artistic reaction to specific stimuli, creating a vast array of beautiful and unique outcomes from a single base form, emphasizing the endless variations evolution can produce. The concept of time-based evolutions extends beyond just day and night. For example, some Pokemon, like Espeon and Umbreon, evolve during specific periods, but others, like Eevee evolving into Sylveon, require a high friendship level and for it to know a fairy-type move. While not strictly time-based, the development of friendship and the learning of a specific move takes time and interaction, implying a sustained period of development and bonding. This suggests that for some Pokemon, evolution is a gradual process of internal alignment and skill acquisition, rather than an instantaneous transformation. The accumulation of positive experiences and the mastery of a particular elemental affinity over time contribute to their eventual evolution, showing that patient nurturing and consistent effort are crucial for unlocking their full potential. It's a testament to the slow, steady progress that often underpins profound change, both in the natural world and in personal growth. The existence of mega evolution, while a temporary transformation rather than a permanent evolutionary stage, offers profound insights into the latent potential within Pokemon. Activated by a special bond with a trainer and a Megastone, it allows a Pokemon to temporarily revert to a more primal or advanced state, often gaining immense power and altering its appearance and even its type. This suggests that the evolutionary lines we typically observe are not the absolute peak of a Pokemon's potential, but rather a current equilibrium. Mega evolution hints at dormant genetic information, ancestral forms, or future possibilities that can be temporarily unlocked under extreme circumstances of bond and power. It's a glimpse into the vast, unexplored depths of a Pokemon's genetic code, suggesting that within each species lies a greater, perhaps wilder, or more refined form waiting to be awakened. This mechanic reveals that evolution is not always a linear progression, but can involve accessing alternate, perhaps ancient versions of a Pokemon, emphasizing the deep evolutionary history embedded within their very DNA. It's a temporary transcendence, a peek into what might have been or what could yet be, showcasing the immense biological plasticity that can be unleashed under unique conditions. The more recent Dynamax and Gigantamax phenomena, especially those that alter a Pokemon's size, and in Gigantamax's case, its form, further expand on this idea of temporary transformation rooted in environmental energy. Occurring in specific power spots in the Galar region, these transformations are driven by the energy emanating from the region's core, which temporarily magnifies a Pokemon's size and power. Gigantamaxing specifically changes appearances and grants unique G-Max moves, suggesting that this energy interacts with a Pokemon's unique genetic makeup to evoke a distinct, albeit temporary form. This is an evolution, or rather a manifestation, driven by localized ambient energy fields, showing how a specific geographical area can influence the physical expression of a Pokemon. It's a powerful reminder that evolution can be a flexible, responsive process, not always requiring permanent genetic alteration, but sometimes a temporary, energy-driven shift in form and capability, highlighting the deep connection between a Pokemon and the specific energy properties of its environment. This ephemeral transformation reveals that the environment can sculpt a Pokemon's physical form not just over generations, but within moments, demonstrating a dynamic interplay between living beings and the energetic landscape around them. Finally, the very concept of unevolved Pokemon that are nonetheless powerful, such as legendary Pokemon or certain single-stage Pokemon like Pinsir or Heracross, challenges the notion that evolution is always necessary for strength or completeness. These Pokemon exist in their ultimate form from the beginning, suggesting that their evolutionary journey is either complete at birth or that they are intrinsically perfect in their initial state. This indicates that not all species follow a linear path of transformation. Some are born fully realized, embodying their peak potential without needing to change. It's a reminder that strength and intrinsic value are not solely determined by the number of evolutionary stages a Pokemon undergoes, but by its inherent nature and design. This challenges the common assumption that all Pokemon are striving towards an evolved state, showing that some species possess a complete and formidable existence from their very inception, a testament to the diversity of life paths within the Pokemon world. This highlights that evolution is not a universal mandate, and that some forms are perfectly adapted and powerful without needing to undergo any further metamorphosis, showcasing the diverse trajectories of life. Consider the fascinating case of Pokemon that evolve through trade, a mechanic that introduces a social and collaborative element to the evolutionary process. Pokemon like Kadabra evolving into Alakazam, Machoke into Machamp, or Haunter into Gengar only achieve their final forms when exchanged between trainers. This isn't merely a game mechanic. Within the lore, it implies a deep-seated connection to the bonds formed between Pokemon and their trainers, and perhaps even between trainers themselves. The act of trade signifies a transfer of trust, a momentary relinquishing of ownership that for these specific species acts as the catalyst for their final growth. It suggests that the energy of a new trainer or the unique electromagnetic fields generated during the transfer process, or even the emotional energy of separation and reunion, might be the critical component. It's an evolution not driven by experience or items alone, but by a social interaction, a breaking of the traditional trainer Pokemon pair, even if only for a moment. This highlights that evolution can be a deeply relational process, dependent on the interconnections within the Pokemon world, moving beyond individual growth to encompass communal and transactional elements. It speaks to a subtle energy exchange that occurs during trade, perhaps a surge of novel stimuli or a recalibration of their intrinsic energy, which unlocks their full potential. Then there are the Pokemon that evolve based on friendship, a truly heartwarming and profound aspect of their biology. Pokemon such as Golbat into Crobat, Chansey into Blissey, or Eevee into Espeon or Umbreon, depending on the time of day, require a high level of friendship with their trainer to evolve. This signifies that emotional connection and mutual understanding are not just beneficial for battles, but are fundamental drivers of physical transformation for these species. It suggests that sustained positive interaction, care, and affection generate a specific kind of emotional or spiritual energy that directly influences their genetic expression, triggering their evolution. This isn't about strength or battle prowess directly, but about the quality of the bond. It illustrates that for some Pokemon, true growth and self actualization are intrinsically linked to love, trust, and companionship. The slow accumulation of positive experiences, the shared journeys, the moments of comfort and understanding, all contribute to building this emotional reservoir that eventually overflows into their evolutionary awakening. It's a testament to the idea that emotional well-being is a powerful biological force capable of reshaping a Pokemon's very form. This particular evolutionary method underscores the deeply sentient and emotionally responsive nature of Pokemon, where their physical development is intertwined with their psychological state and their relationships. The curious case of Shedinja, the hollow shell Pokemon, offers a unique and somewhat eerie perspective on evolution. When a Nincada evolves into Ninjask at level 20, if the trainer has an empty slot in their party and a Pokeball in their bag, a Shedinja appears alongside Ninjask. Shedinja is literally the discarded exoskeleton of Nincada, but it is imbued with a soul and becomes a distinct Pokemon. This isn't an evolution in the traditional sense, but rather a byproduct, a spiritual emergence from the remnants of another's growth. It suggests that the act of evolution for Nincada is so potent, so transformative, that it leaves behind a spirited husk, a ghostly echo of its former self. This raises profound questions about consciousness, life, and the nature of a Pokemon's soul. Is Shedinja a part of Nincada's soul that separates during evolution? Or is it a new entity entirely, born from the energy released during the metamorphosis? Its Wonder Guard ability, which makes it immune to all but super effective attacks, further emphasizes its ethereal and otherworldly nature. This phenomenon challenges our understanding of what constitutes a Pokemon and how life can manifest, suggesting that even the discarded elements of one life cycle can become a new, unique form of existence. It's a powerful and mysterious anomaly, hinting at deeper spiritual planes within the Pokemon world. Consider also the Pokemon whose evolutions are tied to specific locations or environmental conditions. Magneton evolving into Magnezone in areas with a special magnetic field, or Nosepass into Probopass in similar environments, are prime examples. These Pokemon are intrinsically linked to the geophysical properties of their surroundings. It suggests that the intense magnetic energy in these specific locales acts as a catalyst, rearranging their atomic structures or stimulating dormant genetic pathways to facilitate their final evolution. This isn't merely about experience or items, but about existing within a particular energy signature of the planet itself. It highlights how certain geological formations or cosmic energies can directly influence biological development, suggesting a deep co-evolution between Pokemon and their planetary environment. These locations are not just places, they are active agents in the evolutionary process, providing the necessary energetic trigger for these species to reach their ultimate forms. This demonstrates a nuanced understanding of environmental influence, where specific, localized geophysical forces are essential for a Pokemon's complete development, showcasing the intricate relationship between life and the forces of the natural world. The evolutionary lines of Burmy and Wormadam, or indeed Combee and Vespiquen, provide fascinating insights into sexual dimorphism and gender-based evolution. Burmy's evolution into Wormadam is dependent on its gender and its cloak at the time of evolution, which itself changes based on the last battle location. Female Burmy evolve into one of three Wormadam forms: plant, sandy, or trash, corresponding to their cloak, while male Burmy always evolve into Motham. For Combee, only the female can evolve into the queen bee Pokemon, Vespiquen, while male Combee are incapable of evolving at all. These examples showcase that gender can be a fundamental determinant of evolutionary potential and trajectory. It's not just about what a Pokemon is, but what gender it is, which dictates its ultimate form and role within its species' ecosystem. This speaks to a complex interplay of genetics, environment, and social structure within these species, where gender roles are profoundly linked to their developmental pathways. It illustrates that evolution is not a uniform path for all individuals within a species, but can be highly specialized based on intrinsic biological factors like sex, reflecting specialized roles within their social structures. The concept of cross generational evolution, where a Pokemon from an earlier generation gains a new evolution in a later game, like Tangela gaining Tangrowth, Electabuzz gaining Electivire, or Raiden gaining Rhyperior, is also intriguing. This isn't merely a game design choice. Within the lore, it implies that those species always had the potential for these further evolutions, but the specific environmental conditions, evolutionary items, or even the genetic mutations necessary to trigger them only became prevalent or understood much later. It suggests a slow unfolding of evolutionary pathways over time, where a species' full potential might not be realized for centuries or millennia. It's as if their genetic code contained latent instructions for further development, awaiting the right catalyst. This highlights the idea that evolution is an ongoing process, not a finished one, and that even seemingly complete evolutionary lines might harbor dormant potential for future growth. It also reflects a dynamic view of biological possibility, where a species' final form is not always truly final, and new environmental pressures or discoveries can unlock previously unseen stages of development. Consider the notion of Pokemon that evolve through sheer dedication and training, often tied to specific stats. The prime example is Tyrogue, which can evolve into Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, or Hitmontop, depending on its attack and defense stats. If attack is higher than defense, it becomes Hitmonlee. If defense is higher than attack, it becomes Hitmonchan. If attack and defense are equal, it becomes Hitmontop. This is a fascinating embodiment of the training philosophy impacting physical form. It suggests that the focused development of particular physical attributes through rigorous training and effort directly sculpts the Pokemon's evolutionary outcome. It's a biological manifestation of practice makes perfect, where the emphasis of a trainer's regimen literally reshapes the Pokemon's destiny. This is a powerful demonstration of how nurture can profoundly influence nature, turning intrinsic genetic potential into a realized distinct form based on specific developmental trajectories. It speaks to the deep connection between a trainer's influence and a Pokemon's physical development, showcasing how dedicated training molds not just strength, but ultimate form. The mysterious case of Porygon, Porygon-2, and Porygon-Z, the artificial Pokemon, offers a unique perspective on evolution not driven by natural selection, but by technological advancement. Porygon evolves into Porygon-2 when traded holding an upgrade, and Porygon-2 evolves into Porygon-Z when traded holding a dubious disc. These evolutions are described as upgrades or patches to their programming. This isn't biological evolution in the traditional sense, but rather a technological progression mirroring how software or hardware might be improved. It challenges the very definition of evolution within the Pokemon world, expanding it to include artificial beings whose development is managed and manipulated by human ingenuity. It raises questions about the nature of life itself. If a collection of data can evolve through technological means, what does that say about the boundaries between natural and artificial life? It suggests that even in a world of living creatures, Technological evolution can mimic and parallel biological processes, creating new forms and capabilities through programmed enhancements. This line of Pokemon blurs the lines between living organism and machine, illustrating how human innovation can drive evolution in entirely new and unprecedented ways. Another intriguing aspect is the specific time of day influencing evolution, as seen with Rockruff evolving into Lycanroc. Rockruff has three distinct forms of Lycanroc: midday, midnight, and dusk, each evolving under specific time conditions in different games. Midday form evolves during the day, midnight form at night, and dusk form for a specific ability Rockruff during a very narrow window around twilight. This isn't simply a cosmetic difference. These forms have distinct appearances, abilities, and even stat distributions, suggesting significant physiological differences. It highlights that the subtle energies or environmental cues present at different times of day, perhaps solar radiation, lunar influence, or unique atmospheric conditions, can profoundly shape a Pokemon's evolutionary path. It suggests a deep attunement to the planet's diurnal cycle, where the precise moment of transformation dictates the resulting form. This showcases a remarkable sensitivity to ambient temporal conditions, demonstrating how even the subtle ebb and flow of time can be a critical factor in determining a Pokemon's ultimate physical manifestation. Finally, let us consider the profound implications of ancestral forms or fossil Pokemon that can be revived from ancient remains. Pokemon like Omanite, Kabuto, Aerodactyl, and more recently, the Paradox Pokemon from Paldea offer glimpses into the deep history of evolution. Fossil Pokemon are literally brought back to life from ancient DNA, showcasing forms that existed millions of years ago. This demonstrates that evolution is not a one-way street. Past forms can be reintroduced into the present. The Paradox Pokemon, on the other hand, are described as beings from different time periods, either ancient past or distant future, seemingly pulled into the present. These creatures challenge our linear understanding of evolution, suggesting that multiple evolutionary timelines or even parallel dimensions might exist. They hint at a vast, branching evolutionary tree where countless forms have come and gone, and some can even be revisited or encountered. This aspect of the Pokemon world expands the scope of evolution beyond a simple progression, implying a rich tapestry of biological history and potential futures, where the past can literally walk among us, and the future might already be here. It suggests that evolution is an ongoing, multifaceted process, spanning immense stretches of time and potentially even across different temporal realities, profoundly enriching our understanding of life's boundless possibilities.